Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. National Anime Inheritance. I choose Six Paths Obito. Chapter 41. Here comes the reward. Shi listened to the system prompt in his mind. Previously, on the sea, killing the Great Void also received a system reward, and it was much richer than these three monsters. It seems that if it is not a star monster, the reward will be greatly discounted. Shi sighed, and then cheered up again. No matter how small the mosquito meat is, it is still meat. Shi didn't feel anything after solving three monsters in an instant. After all, compared with the powerful one-star monster Killian, these three little monsters are not good enough. There are the most freshmen wearing red school uniforms, and the scene is the most chaotic. Most people are busy running away. Therefore, even if Shi killed three monsters in an instant, it did not attract the attention of the people around him. However, outside the crowd, someone raised his eyebrows. This kid is very strong, and he knows how to protect his companions and is responsible. Gulala, this is the kid I like. Principal Bai Chi touched his white beard and laughed heartily. Are there still good ones? These are the students of my monster hunting academy. After a short period of chaos, more and more students noticed a fact. These monsters don't seem to be that powerful. The fear gradually disappeared, and the students' attitudes began to change. From the beginning, they only knew how to escape, and began to gather in twos and threes, surrounding the monsters in the middle. Then they joined forces to attack. A green slime was hit by a thorny iron ball and turned into a pool of mud. Xiaomu succeeded. Xiaomu actually killed a slime, yeah. A girl holding a meteor hammer, 1.54 meters tall, and with blue neck-length hair jumped up excitedly. The female classmates around her were inspired by her and began to counterattack the monsters. Gradually, the wailing of fear turned into the roar of battle, and then into the cheers of victory. Monsters, are they just like this? A boy in a yellow school uniform raised a long sword and stepped on a red-eyed rabbit. A minute ago, he was scared to death and shivered in the corner of the ice wall. Now, his face was filled with the joy of victory. He was not the only one who was equally happy. It seems that I am the real hunter, and these monsters are just prey. I only threw one punch, and you, a sandbag monster, couldn't stand it. I thought the shell of this strange beetle was so powerful, but it was chopped into pieces by a few axes from me. Haha, am I too strong? More and more freshmen defeated the monsters in front of them. All the drooping heads were raised high. Dozens of first-level monsters that broke into the ice wall have been completely destroyed. Looking around, all the monsters outside have run away. Although I don't know why the monsters ran so fast. But at least the crisis is resolved. The freshmen thought to themselves. Everyone's face was filled with confidence and pride. Seeing the happy expressions of the students, Principal Bai Chi smiled slightly. Good, it's great to be expanded. The corners of his mouth rose, and his eyes began to roll. It's time to teach them a lesson. He stretched out a hand and pressed it against the ice wall. This time, he did not hold back. Just a light shout. The 3-meter-thick ice wall that covered the entire playground and consumed almost half of Teacher Qingzi's spiritual power. Under the palm of Dean Bai Chi, it broke and collapsed. Like broken pieces of paper. Boom. The ice wall collapsed, and the forest full of dead trees returned to everyone's eyes. Just when the freshmen were confused, the dead trees around them spontaneously combusted. One by one, the entire forest turned into a sea of fire. Fortunately, the location where everyone was an open space in the forest. Everyone be careful. Teacher Arnold looked solemn. He cast a spell, and the wind began to whistle. With the place where everyone was standing as the center of the circle, a firebreak was created. But the gradually rising temperature still made the freshmen feel hot. Boom, boom, boom. It was like a huge drumstick hitting the ground like a drumhead. The rumbling sound, combined with the vibration of the ground, was telling the freshmen. A big guy is coming. Qingzi and Teacher Arnold looked at each other. The serious expression showed that the monster coming was very strong. Let me tell you a little knowledge. Dean Bai Chi twisted his limbs, his muscles bulged, and his bones creaked. The beast tied in the demon domain did not occur for no reason. Most of the time, it was these demon beasts that felt the danger. Do you understand? It's just like a wild wolf driving a flock of sheep. These demon beasts are also driven by a certain powerful existence drove them away, forming a beast tide. As if to confirm the principal's words. In the burning forest, a red dragon slowly walked out. The red dragon had a cat-like face, covered with red scales, horns on its head, and thick red mane on its neck trembling. Two fiery red membrane wings fluttered. A strong heat wave was lifted up and rushed towards everyone. This is Flame King Dragon. Qin Shi widened his eyes and swallowed his saliva. As one of the earliest ancient dragons discovered by the Ancient Dragon Observatory in the world of Monster Hunter, the Flame King Dragon is born with a strong control over fire and explosion. Unlike the Flame King Dragon in Qin Shi's previous life game, the red dragon in front of him had 4 stars shining on his forehead. My God, is this the real monster? Compared with it, the previous first-level monsters, no, including us, are simply ants. How can a human fight against such a monster? Quote, many people in the group of freshmen trembled and could not stand steadily. They looked at the creature in front of them. It was like an ant facing a dragon. The despair of low-level creatures facing high-level creatures filled their chests. The courage and pride that had just been aroused were like being poured with a basin of cold water. It couldn't be colder. No, I can't breathe. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I don't want to die. The crowd began to riot, and some people even ran around. But the strong fire forced them back. Calm down, stay calm. Everyone, don't run around, please trust our teacher. Quote. Qing Ji reminded him, but he was even more nervous. He knew in his heart that this was not just an ordinary monster, but the king of monsters, a star monster. Star monsters can even compete with ordinary monsters of a higher level. And he took a long breath and suppressed the shock in his heart. It's still a 4-star monster. If it's just based on destructive power, it's already a disaster level. The Flame King Dragon lowered its head and looked at the tiny human in front of it with its eyes. Saliva dripped from its mouth and fell to the ground, making a sizzling sound. It was like magma dripping on the ground. So much food. The Flame King Dragon flapped its wings, hung in the air, and flew towards the crowd. Qing Ji gritted his teeth and waved his hands. Cold air burst out. Ice spikes stretched out from the ground and stabbed into the sky, tightly surrounding the Flame King Dragon in midair. Roar! Red flames spewed out from the mouth of the Flame King Dragon. The sudden rise in temperature made everyone feel the high temperature contained in this flame. It's a midair flame sweep. Qin Shi exclaimed in his heart. Before crossing, he was also a fan of the second dimension, and he challenged this ancient dragon on 3DS many times. The ice spikes were enveloped by the hot dragon flames and immediately turned into water vapor. The ice spike cage turned into nothingness in an instant. The Flame King Dragon looked at everyone with contempt and shook his wings violently. Suddenly, sparkling fine dust floated in the air. Oh no, it's a dust explosion, be careful of these powders, they will catch fire. Qin Shi shouted. This is one of the skills of the Flame King Dragon. It flaps its wings to spread the phosphorus powder, and then uses its teeth to ignite it. As if to verify Qin Shi's words, the Flame King Dragon spewed fire from its mouth. Ignite countless phosphorus powders, and clusters of small fireballs fly in the air, flying towards where everyone was standing. Hearing Qin Shi's reminder, the white-bearded principal, who was standing in the front with his hands folded on his chest, turned his head. He noticed Qin Shi again. Not bad, a student with insight, I like it, gulala. He laughed and suddenly stretched out his right hand. His 5 fingers suddenly clenched into a fist. The phosphorus powder floating in the air seemed to be pushed by a force. It was like duckweed on the sea, rising and falling with the waves. Qin Shi was shocked, because in his Sharingan, space is the sea. Waves emerged from space and disappeared in space. The invisible space waves blocked countless phosphorus fires outside the crowd and pushed them around the Flame King Dragon. Is this the tremor fruit? This ability can even control space. The other students behind him also felt the wind surging in the air. For some reason, the huge fire dragon was right in front of them. But almost all the students calmed down, just because of an old man who looked so short standing in front of a giant dragon. Principal Bai Qi walked slowly to the front of the Flame King Dragon. It was obviously just a tiny human. But in the eyes of the Flame King Dragon, it was like an ancient giant beast from the prehistoric times. Roar! It bared its teeth, its wings kept shaking, but it didn't dare to move at will. It was as if it was the prey under the hunter's gun, and its breath was firmly locked. Principal Bai Chi showed a dissatisfied expression, walked to the front of the Flame King Dragon, and then punched upward. Bang! Obviously, the fist was still dozens of meters away from the chin of the Flame King Dragon. But the Flame King Dragon was like being hit on the chin by an invisible giant's iron fist. The whole dragon flew high and smashed into the dead forest not far away. Is this the air shock fist in the inheritance of Whitebeard? Qin Shi looked at Principal Bai Chi's movements and felt the tremor coming from the space. Even though the fist did not touch the enemy, the vibration in the space had been steadily transmitted to the enemy, killing the enemy from a distance, and it was a critical hit. The Flame King Dragon fell to the ground, dragon blood spurting out, mixed with a broken dragon tooth. The power of just one punch. It instinctively knew that it was roaring in front of this old man. Just like a newborn puppy roaring at a hunter, it was looking for death. It had completely lost its will to face the arrogance of its prey, just lying flat on the ground with its belly exposed. It expressed its submission and begged the old man not to kill it. Principal Bai Chi jumped on the Flame King Dragon. At the same time, he called his students. Xiao Qingqing, come here. Teacher Qingzi walked over with an unhappy look on his face. I remember you killed a monster before, and it seems you learned a skill called dragon language. Please help me translate it. He coughed twice, then stared at the eyes of the Flame King Dragon and patted its head. Either be my mount, or become a roasted dragon, choose one of the two. How about it, am I kind? I still give you this dragon a choice, Gulala. Dean Bai Chi laughed up to the sky. Qingji was speechless, but still used dragon language to translate it. Flame King Dragon blinked his eyes and had no reaction. What is this human thinking? How can a dragon be a mount for inferior humans? Seeing that the dragon under his feet did not move, Principal Bai Chi frowned. If you don't want to, then kill it. Dragon bones, dragon tendons, and dragon skin are all good goods and can sell for a lot of money. Qingji also accurately translated this sentence. Flame King Dragon suddenly flapped its wings, climbed up from the ground, and carried the old man fatty on its back into the air. I am a wise ancient dragon. A dragon must be flexible. Half an hour later. Gulala, my dear children, is this an unforgettable experience? Watch. Today I am a handsome dragon knight, oh, fly. Principal Bai Chi's chest muscles bulged with his bare upper body, and he laughed heroically, flying beside the arc of wind. At this moment, under his crotch was a fire dragon. A dignified ancient dragon, but became a human's mount. Under the proud blood, the fire dragon felt aggrieved and roared unconsciously. What are you roaring for? Why are you flying so fast? Don't you know that I am airsick? Can you hold on? If you don't look domineering, would you be so lucky to be my mount? If you don't listen, I will roast you. Quote, Principal Bai Chi roared and stomped his feet. The two black feet were obviously using domineering power. Compared with the flame dragon, the principal was like a mouse standing on an elephant. But contrary to its size, the flame dragon felt as if it was hit by several meteorites after being stomped by the principal. My head was buzzing. This dragon is so pitiful. This old man is so hateful. You let me fly, and you are so fierce when I fly fast. 100,000 horses ran through the Flame King Dragon's heart. But he didn't dare to have any expression on his face. Said, quickly flap your wings, control your body to fly steadily and slowly. The students on the ark looked at their dragon riding principal as if they were looking at a demon god. Awe, admiration, envy, fear, all kinds of expressions appeared on their faces. But they all moved a little further away from the principal. Our principal, how can you look like a 70-year-old man? Qingji continued to sit cross-legged beside Qinshi and chat with him. How is it, classmate Qin, do you find this trip interesting? Qinshi smiled. I remember that the Monster Hunting magazine once commented on the 9 demon suppressing passes in Kyushu. It was commented that the Great Wall Pass is the pass that faces the most monster invasions. But it is the strongest human defense line among the 9 demon suppressing passes, and it can be said to be impregnable. I used to think that the Great Wall Pass was indestructible because it had a long steel wall. Now it seems that the truly indestructible one is our principal. Quote. Qin Shi looked up at the flame dragon, and the principal on the dragon's head was laughing with his hands on his hips. The wind arc returned to the academy. At the last moment when Teacher Arnold's eyes were white, his whole body was trembling, and his spiritual power was almost exhausted. The wind arc finally staggered to the ground. Ah! Many students vomited after getting off the wind boat. Teacher Arnold had been squeezed to the point of fainting, and you can imagine the quality of the boat. It's good enough to maintain the wind arc, but you still expect the wind arc to be stable. Li Shani's face was pale, his legs were trembling, and he could only walk with the help of Qin Shi. On the first day of school, he vomited twice. Li Shani said that he didn't seem to be suitable for this academy. Teacher Qingzi also vomited against the wall for a long time, and then he picked up his loudspeaker sickly. Today's, the visit is over, and everyone will see you in the square at 7:30 tomorrow morning, Quote. By the way, the cafeteria opens at 6 o'clock. At this point, Teacher Qingzi's eyes suddenly lit up and the corners of his mouth rose. I hope you enjoy your meal. After a busy day, many students, including Qin Shi, didn't even have lunch. Their stomachs were growling with hunger. A group of people rushed to the cafeteria of the Demon Hunting Academy like hungry wolves. The freshman military training was before the start of school for students of other grades. Cafeteria, cafeteria. Li Shani touched his growling belly and stared at the campus card in his hand. Then he looked up at the front. He was surprised. Qin Shi, who was walking behind him, also stopped. Is this, a lake? Following the map, they came to a lake. It's called a lake, but the lake is surging with fragrant soup, and it's boiling soup. It's like a hot pot. Qin Shi suddenly remembered where he seemed to have seen this lake. In the comic, The Prisoner of Food, there is a unique lake where the top ingredient, the lady fish, lives, the hot pot lake. But in the comic, the hot pot lake is frozen. The hot pot lake in front of him was boiling and fragrant. Here we are, hot pot lake. Pei Bi Yula shrugged his nose excitedly. 300 years ago, when the border barrier had not yet been established, gray fog filled many places in Kyushu continent. Not only did it bring monsters, but it also teleported some secrets and magical buildings from other worlds. This hot pot lake is one of the secrets teleported to Kyushu at that time. The so-called secret realm is the gray fog that caused the original area of Kyushu to change. The area formed by the integration of special buildings or terrain in the other world. Give an example. For example, ordinary lake water became the hot pot lake in the captive of delicious food. For example, the prison that held prisoners became the Impel Down in the world of One Piece. The emergence of secret realms is often accompanied by dangers and opportunities. Pei Bi Yula rubbed his hands. Did you see the big ship in the middle of the lake? That's the restaurant of the Demon Hunter Academy, Barati. This is a lake restaurant that ranks among the 9 most delicious restaurants. It is said that it was modeled after the Barati restaurant in the One Piece world. Pei Bi Yula sniffed, as if he had already smelled the deliciousness of top-notch food. If there is anything else that attracts me to this academy, it's this 5-star restaurant. Qin Shi also looked up. A giant, 3-story circular restaurant with a fish-shaped figurehead and 4 large sails in white and yellow. Wow! Qin Shi exclaimed, wow. I said why it looks so familiar. Isn't this big ship the famous battle restaurant Barati in the East China Sea Samba's Sea in One Piece, the sea restaurant? It becomes a lake restaurant here. Many freshmen have arrived at the lake. Everyone is even more hungry when they smell the aroma of the hot pot lake. But everyone looked embarrassed. The restaurant is in the middle of the lake, how can we get there? No one dared to swim over. Are you kidding? The boiling hot pot soup will bubble up if you touch it a little bit, and you still want to swim in it. And look at the bubbles rising in the lake. There must be a lot of scary fish in it. After all, it is a secret place in another world, how can it be so easy to get there? I want to eat, but the food is not delicious. Pei Bi Yula sighed. Oh my, teachers Qingzi and Arnold came over. There were 3 Kentaro behind them, pulling 6 carts. Don't you want to eat, students? The restaurant is just opposite, and you can taste the amazing skills of our Dacian chef when you go over there. What are you waiting for? Go quickly. Just as Qingzi urged with a sly smile, Most people were still embarrassed and said they couldn't go. Teacher Qingzi waved his hand helplessly. That's all I can do. I still have some food here, but it's far inferior to the food from the chef in the mountains. If you don't mind, take it. Everyone rushed forward. As this, can you eat it? After seeing the food, several students shouted immediately. The food on the cart had been sorted one by one according to the number of portions, and there were only 2 kinds of food in each portion. A piece of raw beef and a cup of bitter vegetable juice. Raw meat. How can you eat this? There are no parasites. And the bitter vegetable juice has a pungent smell. You will vomit stomach acid after drinking it. Junk food, even dogs won't eat it. I protest, you are abusing students. Many freshmen present looked disgusted, saying that they would not eat such food even if they were hungry. Hearing their words, Teacher Arnold laughed coldly. Even dogs won't eat it. When you enter the demon domain and survive in the wild, you will know. To have a piece of raw meat, how exciting it is to drink the juice of the rhizomes of plants. This means you can survive, understand? You can survive. Teacher Qingzi rarely showed a cold expression. I tell you rookies, you can eat or not, but the military training of the Demon Hunting Academy will not reduce the amount of training just because you are hungry. If you are so hungry that you can't get up tomorrow, don't blame me for not reminding you. He pointed to the boat restaurant in the center of the hot pot. Want to eat good food? Sure, I've given you away. Go to that restaurant by yourself, there are delicious foods in it. If you stay here, there are only these 2 kinds of junk food, I still spoil you. Quote. For a moment, the group of freshmen was silent. Some were the descendants of Harry Potter, summoning their own flying brooms and flying to the restaurant in the lake. Some were the descendants of the dumplings in the Dragon Ball world, and they activated the air dance technique and floated towards the restaurant. He, it's just crossing the river, I have plenty of ways. A man with blonde hair, a grin, and sunglasses shot a silk thread and hit a flying bird in the sky. Then he swung over like a swing. Kolo reads magic card, flying card. A girl in a blue school uniform holding a star wand, after chanting a spell, stretched out white wings on her back and took her to a high place. The freshmen present all showed their magical powers. Some even threw out the universal capsule, took out a skateboard, and prepared to surf over. But more students stayed by the lake and had to go to Qingzi to get food. Too bad. No, I still can't eat it, woo. Quote. After struggling, many students finally gave up trying and walked back to the dormitory hungry. There were less than 10 people who actually finished the food. Lao Qin, Huang Mao, why don't you come with me and have a big meal at the restaurant on the lake? Pei Bi Yula threw a universal capsule into the hot pot lake. A handsome motorboat stopped steadily on the lake. Qin Shi thought about it and shook his head. I have a way to get there, you take Li Shani there first. Well, hurry up, we'll wait for you to eat together. Pei Bi Yula believed in Qin Shi's ability and left with Li Shani first. Watching his roommate leave, Qin Shi walked up to Teacher Qingzi and asked for a meal. Why don't you go to the restaurant on the lake with your roommate, but come to my place to eat this? Teacher Qingzi was quite surprised, but still gave him a piece of raw meat and a cup of bitter vegetable juice. Without any hesitation, Qin Shi took a big bite of the raw beef, and then swallowed the bitter vegetable juice. Ahem. After all, it was raw food, and a feeling of nausea almost made him vomit, but he held it back. My grandfather taught me since I was a child not to waste food. Besides, I didn't say I wouldn't go to the restaurant on the lake. Qin Shi wiped the raw meat blood on his mouth and looked at the restaurant on the lake where many people had already gone. Now, let's have a big meal again. But how can I get there? After eating the raw beef, Qin Shi looked at the bubbling hot pot lake water and began to think. If it was just ordinary lake water, it would naturally not stop him. In the world of Naruto, walking on water is a simple skill that every genin can master. Gather chakra at the soles of your feet and release a certain amount continuously, and you can walk on the water. In addition, walking on vertical walls and standing upside down on branches are also the same little tricks. But this hot pot lake is not an ordinary lake, this is a boiling hot pot soup base. Qin Shi looked at his shoes. If the hot pot lake water seeps into his shoes, won't blisters appear on his feet? Got it. Qin Shi had a flash of inspiration. He began to chant in a low voice. The 39 way of binding round gate fan. As he chanted, a circular light curtain appeared on his feet, like a small skateboard. One step after another, like claws and teeth, is the devil's pace. Qin Shi hummed a song and jumped onto the hot pot lake. Spiritual power gathered under the soles of his feet, and his figure stopped steadily on the water. Almost everyone who wants to go to the restaurant has arrived. We can't keep them waiting. Qin Shi jumped on the lake, then bent his legs, put his hands behind his back, and posed in the running posture in Naruto. Ninjutsu, instant body technique. At the moment of starting, Qin Shi's speed suddenly increased. If Pei Yula was still there, he would be surprised. Because Qin Shi's speed was faster than his motorboat. 3 minutes later, Qin Shi braked and pulled the rope of the sailboat to board the big ship. Is this the famous lake restaurant, the battle restaurant Bharati? Qin Shi looked at the wide deck, smelled the aroma of meat in the air, and quickened his pace. Here, Lao Qin, hurry up, I've saved a seat for you. Qin Shi just pushed open the wooden door of the restaurant and saw Pei Yula and Li Shani waving at him. He walked over quickly, but began to count in his heart. Less than 300 people. Of the nearly 1,000 freshmen, only less than 300 had the means to come to the restaurant. The 9 people in blue uniforms are all here, and they are sitting together, which is out of tune with the others. Besides that, most of them are in yellow uniforms, and there are less than 100 people in red uniforms. It seems that the influence of inheritance level is everywhere. In addition to counting the heads, he also found a strange phenomenon. He walked into the hall, but found that there was a set of exquisite tableware and a covered round plate in front of each table. Obviously, the delicious food was placed on the covered plate. But even though the food was in front, most people did not look happy, but with a hint of anger. Why do you all have this expression, as if you were fooled? Qin Shi sat down and looked at Pei Yula and Li Shani who were frowning, and asked with a smile. It can't be that the food is worse than Mr. Qingzi's raw beef. It's not that bad, but it's almost the same. Pei Yula sighed and lifted the lid of the meal in front of Qin Shi. A glass of water with a piece of cooked beef. Isn't this just boiled beef? Qin Shi took a bite. It was very bland, just a piece of beef boiled in boiling water, without even salt. At least it's cooked. Qin Shi smiled and ate it. After all, it was beef. When he was in the orphanage, he could only eat meat during festivals. Just as he was eating meat, a man suddenly walked onto the stage at the front of the restaurant. Golden hair, curly eyebrows, wearing a black double-breasted suit, with a cigarette in his mouth. If it weren't for the bulging beer belly, this image would be exactly the same as Sanji in One Piece. Everyone, I'm the chef of this Bharati restaurant. You can call me Chef Dashin. He exhaled a smoke ring. Like mace at the food I prepared for you. It would have been fine if he hadn't asked, but once he asked, the crowd immediately got angry. I worked so hard to fly here from the shore, and you let me eat this. Boiled meat without salt. You use this to test the cadres. I thought the chefs at Bharati were so good, but they can only make such low-level food. The freshmen were talking to each other, and it was obvious that they were already emotional. Yo, are you questioning my cooking skills? Then you better watch. Chef Dashin put out the cigarette butt in his palm and clapped his hands. Several kitchen assistants in white chef uniforms immediately came in with a dining cart. This is the Kyushu beauty recipe, the little 8 takoyaki. Quote. And Dashin seafood fried rice, it is said that every bite is full of happiness. The fragrant aroma, this is the so-called #1 barbecue, the shushui meat skewers. Quote. This girl is not calm anymore. Look at that cake, it's taller than a person, and there are white fireworks. Could it be the delicious wedding cake? Quote. I want to drink a glass of fruit beer now. Wow, there is this too. Quote. As the dining carts filled with rich food were pushed up, everyone was not calm anymore. The sound of swallowing saliva was heard everywhere. Do you want to eat? Chef Dashin spit and then smoothed his hair. Our restaurant Bharati is nicknamed Battle Restaurant. If you want to eat food, it's very simple. Just hold on to my hand for one move, just one move, and you can take any food from the dining cart. Quote. As he spoke, he narrowed his eyes and looked at the freshmen in the audience provocatively. Hurry up, there are only so many delicacies, first come first served, while they are all gone. The rules of the game are simple and clear. Everyone is a new student, a top student from all over the country, and everyone wants to show off in front of everyone. Immediately, a fat student who took off his yellow school uniform and was closest to the stage came on stage. Yan Pei Bula stretched and glanced at the student who came on stage, who was wearing a sleeveless shirt. The fat guy who went up is called Ding Zhou. Like you, Lao Qin, he is the A-level Akamichi Choji, the successor of the Hokage. Quote. You know all this. Li Shani chewed on the boiled beef and looked at the rich boy beside him with admiration. Pei Bula raised a finger. 1 million. My family spent 1 million Kyushu coins to collect all the information of the selected college students from various cities. Qin Shi and Li Shani raised their thumbs at the same time. Generous, really generous. Akamichi, Choji. Qin Shi muttered the inherited name. This name is a bit familiar. Qin Shi thought about it and began to search the memory of Naruto anime in his mind. Choji, Ino Shika Cho. Oh, it turns out to be one of the 12 little strongmen. Akamichi Choji, a chunin from the Hidden Leaf village in the Land of Fire, is good at the multiplication technique. The fat boy walked onto the stage, looking at the fragrant food, his eyes were shining. When I win, I will drag away a whole cart of food. Chef Dashin just smiled when he saw the boy drooling. As long as you win, everything will be fine. Without more greetings, the boy named Ding Zhou has already taken the lead. The art of multiplication. His arms suddenly grew larger, and his fists became as big as sandbags. No wonder you took off your school uniform and wore a sleeveless shirt underneath. It turns out you were afraid of tearing your clothes. Ha ha, I laughed to death. Pei Bula finally came to his senses. Chef, this punch of mine has the power of 18 years. Even the cows in the village can't stand it. How about you just give me the food and we'll stop ordering? The fat boy Ding Zhou suggested enthusiastically. The chef Dashin smiled, lit a cigarette again and took a deep puff. Boy, don't be so quick to brag. Kicking skills, cutting meat shoot. A puff of smoke ring was spit out in Ding Zhou's face. It made the fat boy Ding Zhou cough for a while. Before Ding Zhou recovered, the black leather shoes of the chef Dashin had kicked over. This, in a hurry, Ding Zhou could only wave his huge fist to meet it. Bang! The sandbag fist and the black leather shoes collided. The result was obvious. Chef Dashin's body did not move at all. The fat boy's body flew high and flew straight into the lake outside the restaurant. Oh my God, boiling water, save me, save me. Just when he was about to fall into the water, the lake water suddenly changed from boiling to cold ice. Teacher Qingzi had come to the side of the big ship and caught the flying fat boy steadily. Chef Dashin, I will catch these students for you, and you have to give me more food later. He shouted towards the restaurant at the top of his voice. No problem. Chef Dashin twisted his neck and looked at the group of freshmen again. You students, you don't think you can fight me one-on-one, do you? Hurry up, don't be so shy, I've got bone soup in my pot, as long as the stage can accommodate it, you can all come up together. Still the original rules, whoever can withstand one of my moves will pass. The students looked at each other. I don't know who started it. Grab the food. 10 students jumped onto the stage at the same time, but they didn't run towards Chef Dashin. Instead, they ran directly to the food cart and stretched out their hands to grab the food. However, their movements were a bit weird, like puppets being manipulated. They walked a little mechanically, and there was a look of fear on their faces. For a while, the scene was in chaos. How stupid, I told you, only those who can withstand one of my moves are qualified to take the food. Chef Dashin snorted coldly, and smoked the cigarette in his hand until only the butt was left. Then he threw away the white chef's hat on his head. Little brats, if you don't follow the rules, don't blame me for being rough with you. His eyes shone, black marks appeared around his eye sockets, and a chill emanated from his body. Is this observation hockey? Qin Shi exclaimed in his heart. Observation hockey, one of the 3 types of hockey in One Piece, is the proof of a strong person. This hockey can make the 5 senses sharper, detect the breath and emotional changes of the surrounding creatures, and predict the opponent's moves. Devil Wind Kick, Level 1 Minced Meat. The flash gathered at the toes of Chef Dashin, and kicked the students who were grabbing food on the stage at a dazzling speed. Bang bang bang. The rapid continuous kicks, in just 2 seconds, the bodies of all 10 students flew backwards. No one touched the food. Pain, pain, pain. The student who fell on the ice lake covered his chest and couldn't get up for a while. The force of the kick was much stronger than the force of the kick against the fat boy Ding Zhou before. This is what happens when you don't follow the rules. Chef Dashin roared. The other students who were ready to move and grab the food suddenly became quiet. Just kidding, 10 people were kicked away in 2 seconds. They were all kicked out of the ship and hit the hard ice. If they were not all inheritors above B level, their physical fitness would have been incomparable to ordinary people. This kick would probably make those 10 people unable to get out of bed for half a year. But not everyone was frightened by Chef Dashin's sharp kick. As soon as he stopped roaring, a blue figure moved. It's an S-level student. Someone from them has taken action. Under the stage, a student screamed. Qin Shi also got very alert. Except for the legendary God-level inheritance, S-level is already the king of inheritance levels. Here we go. Look at the one using the silk thread. He is from a famous gangster family in Kyushu. His name is Mingay. The inheritance is from the Pirate King, S-Class, Doflamingo, and this kid is very talented. Pei Bula turned into a commentator, pointing and explaining the battle situation to his 2 roommates. The fruit ability in the pirate world has been developed by him, and he can use some moves of the string fruit. On the stage, a man with blonde hair and sunglasses was showing a bloodthirsty smile. His hands were covered with almost transparent silk threads. And the other end of the silk thread, at some point, had been connected to the foot of Chef Dashin. Hey, slow down, parasitic thread. The parasitic thread can control the limbs of others like a puppet with fine puppet silk threads. Mingay, a student in a blue school uniform, laughed and tore harder with both hands. His ability is definitely not enough to control a strong man like Dashin. But he can interfere with the enemy's movements through such puppet threads. Sure enough, under the traction of the silk thread, Chef Dashin's kick towards the 9 people slowed down instantly. When did these silk threads come from? Even Chef Dashin had a trace of shock in his eyes. Pei Bula, who was explaining to his roommate with great joy, also said with regret at this moment. Although Chef Dashin is just a cook in the academy, there are many talented people here, who doesn't have some strength. If Chef Dashin is not strong, how dare he call his restaurant a fighting restaurant? But, what a pity. As strong as Master Dashin is, he was entangled by the threads of that gangster boy. He was too careless. Pei Bula shook the boiled water in his hand and sighed. It's not that he was careless. Qin Shi, who was watching the show, suddenly spoke up. These threads had already stuck to those people when the 10 people rushed up. And when Master Dashin kicked those students, the threads were transferred to the target. In Qin Shi's eyes, the black magatama of the Sharingan slowly turned. Old Qin, you can see this. Li Shani and Pei Bula shouted at the same time. Mingay, that kid, is really a gangster, so insidious. On the stage, after just a moment of surprise, Chef Dashin instantly understood the reason. So that's it, are they the students who stole the food? I was wondering how those students would dare to steal the food. It turns out they were controlled by you, a kid wearing sunglasses. I wronged those 10 students. Chef Dashin snorted coldly, and kicked even harder, trying to use brute force to break the control of the parasitic thread. One thread can control a freshman's parasitic thread, a full 10 of them, stuck to the chef in front of him, but they showed signs of breaking in a moment. I can't hold on to this monster for long. S-level, come on. At the moment he shouted, 5 or 6 puppet threads had broken, and the student named Mingay was immediately under great pressure. I'll do it. The other 8 S-level students also started to act. In the front was a beautiful girl holding a star wand. She was as beautiful as a fairy, and even the blue school uniform couldn't seal her 9-point beauty. The girl chanted a spell, and a rotating card appeared in front of her. The card was painted with symmetrical and repeated patterns, like the pattern in a kaleidoscope. The key that hides the power of the stars, show me your true power. Now in the name of your master, Nightingale, I command you to lift the seal, illusion. A colorless mist enveloped the stage. Sixth brother, this can't be, that big star, Sha Rixing. Looking at the figure of the girl waving her magic wand in front of the stage, Li Shani, who was eating meat with his head down, stood up suddenly. Ah, it's her. Her real name is Mu Nightingale, from Luoyang, Ningzhou. Pei Bi Yula smacked his lips, but his eyes were not fixed on the stage. Luoyang, Qin Shi stretched out his tone, aren't you from the same hometown? Tell me, are you two related? Pei Bi Yula took a sip of water. It doesn't matter, it's just that our two families have business dealings. Also, she is my fiancé. Oh, ah, Qin Shi and Li Shani screamed together. Fiancé, you call this nothing, just when the three of them were chatting at the dining table in the corner. Dashan, who was in the center of the fog, gradually became blurry and his body was shaking slightly. In his mind, he recalled the past when he and 3 or 5 friends fought in the demon domain when he was young and looked for top ingredients. The right foot that was about to get rid of the parasitic silk thread suddenly dropped again. Just as Mingay exhaled, he smiled sinisterly and planned to add 20 more threads to the terrifying chef in front of him, tie him up like a dumpling and throw him into the lake. But just as he was about to take a step forward, he saw that the chef Dashan had bitten his tongue and his eyes had become clear again. I've encountered everything in the demon realm, and you dare to show off this little illusion. Dashan snorted coldly and raised his exhausted foot again. But at the same time, 3 students in blue school uniforms appeared in front of him and on both sides. They ran quickly from their seats during the brief moment when he was trapped in the illusion. In the front, the closest one was a red-haired boy with a huge gourd on his back. This man is Ai Luo, from Yangzhou, and his parents are bounty hunters. Seeing a newcomer appear, Pei Bi Yula quickly stopped his friend from asking about his fiancé, and hurriedly explained the information of the red-haired boy. His inheritance is S-level Naruto, Sand Village Gaara. Looking at the inheritance of the same world as himself, Qin Shi paid attention. Ninjutsu, Sand Binding Coffin. The red-haired boy quickly formed a seal. Yellow sand poured down from the gourd behind him, wrapping Master Dashan's whole body. Especially his raised foot, which was covered with thick sand. Not enough, he can still break free. The red-haired boy controlled the sand with both hands and shouted to the 2 people in the other direction. Then put another shackle on him. Run to the left. The young man who attacked was short and white-haired, swinging his long sword. 6 cloth ice purity formation. A chill emanated from his sword, and 6 shining spots appeared around Dashan Chef. An icicle shot up into the sky, wrapping Dashan Chef's whole body. All come to. The young man on the right closed his eyes, and the long sword in his hand was shaped like a cane. He stabbed the cane and long sword into the ground. Heavy fruit 5 times gravity. An invisible force field was generated, increasing Dashan Chef's whole body weight to 5 times in a short time. When the 3 of them joined forces to restrict Dashan's actions, 4 students in blue school uniforms also ran up. 9S level inheritance freshmen, all went out at this moment. However, before these 4 students came in front of Dashan Chef, sand and broken ice began to splash everywhere. They had to retreat. Sand binding, icicles, 5 times gravity. None of them could restrain Dashan's body. His whole body was enveloped by a black aura, and all the restraints were like pieces of paper floating on his body. Strong forward pork pot shoot. Master Dashan's right foot never landed on the ground, kicking out the action he had been performing from the beginning. The tip of his toes stopped at the tip of the nose of Mingay, the student with sunglasses who was closest to him. Sweat dripped down Mingay's forehead. He swallowed his saliva. The whole person was still standing in the same place, not being kicked into the lake. Alas, I was disturbed by you, and this kicking force is too old after all. Chef Dashan sighed and retracted his foot suspended in the air. These 9 students, you blocked my move, you can come and choose food. He turned sideways and let the dining cart full of food behind him. However, no one moved. Including the 9S level inheritance students, everyone was shocked by the strength of Chef Dashan. 5S level inheritors attacked, and 4S level inheritors had not yet had time to attack, a total of 9 people. With the advantage, he only blocked one of the opponent's moves. Is this person really just a cook? What are you waiting for? If you don't come to get the food, I will regret it. Seeing the group of students in blue school uniforms in a daze, Chef Dashan showed dissatisfaction. Reminded by the other party, the 9 students in blue school uniforms looked at each other, and finally walked forward to get food from the dining car. Everyone took a lot, and Mingay even moved all the red and white wine on the dining car. Leave after taking the food, don't eat in my restaurant, go somewhere else. Chef Dashan lit another cigarette. No one knew why he wanted to expel the guests. But shocked by his strength, no one dared to disobey him. The 9 students in blue uniforms bowed to Chef Dashan one by one and left. This is respect for the strong. Other students, hurry up if you want to challenge, there is not much food on the dining car. Chef Dashan moved a recliner from somewhere, lying on the recliner, and said slowly. The other students looked at each other and shook their heads. It took 9S level students to block the chef's move. How could they do it? Amid sighs, a few people left the restaurant without even touching the boiled meat. Most people tried a few bites and were discouraged by the bland taste. 10 minutes later, there were only 3 people left at the corner table in the restaurant. Old Chin, don't you want to go up and have some fun? Pei Bula chewed the meat in his mouth, then drank the water in the cup. Others don't know, but I spent $1 million to know your record in your hometown. Tisk tisk, you dared to challenge even the famous demon hunter, Old Chin, you are also a tough guy. Maybe you can succeed. Chin Shi wiped his mouth, and the plate in front of him had been swept away. Well, that master is very strong, but he seems to only plan to use one kick. In this case, I might have a chance. He stood up and walked quickly to the stage. The sleeping Chef Dashan opened his hazy eyes. There is actually a challenger, and he is from the Osiris Red dormitory. He stretched lazily. Boy, didn't you see that those S-level students had to work hard to get the upper hand from me? Are you sure you want to try? Of course, to be honest, I'm very excited. Chin Shi replied with a smile, with a different kind of brilliance in his eyes. How can I miss such an opportunity to fight against a strong man? As he said, he made seals with both hands. Ninjutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu. The smoke and dust floated. Soon, the smoke and dust dissipated. 2 identical Chin Shi appeared in the same place, with kunai on their fingertips. Oh, excellent level ninjutsu. Chef Dashan's eyes lit up. Boy, there's something. Then Master Dashan should be careful. The 2 Chin Shi ran at the same time, shooting the kunai in their hands while running. For a moment, 10 kunai were shot in succession, with almost no gaps. But Chef Dashan just stood there, looking up, lifting his feet, or bending over, and dodged all the kunai easily. The accuracy and speed of the throwing are good, at least it is a LV2 throwing technique. Chef Dashan praised. Wearing a red school uniform means that your inheritance is only AB level. But I think your performance is no worse than those S-level students. It seems that although your inheritance is average in rarity, but your inheritance talent is the highest among all the students I have seen. 045. Inheritance talent refers to the comprehensive ability of students to master and use inheritance. It is a series of abilities, such as diligence, combat awareness, and learning speed. If the inheritance level determines the ability type and upper limit of a student, then the student's inheritance talent determines how far he can use the inheritance. In the Monster Hunting Academy, there are also strong people who have AB level inheritance but have won impressive results against high-star monsters in the monster domain. What they rely on is the extremely high inheritance talent. But unfortunately, you can't get the food from me just like this. The figure of Chef Dashan disappeared from the spot in an instant, and appeared next to Chin Shi like an afterimage. Devil Wind Kick. He is a ruthless man who doesn't talk much. Chef Dashan raised his leg and kicked Chin Shi, who was still standing there waiting for him. Bang! Dust and smoke floated. Is this a clone? Dashan raised his eyebrows and smiled at Chin Shi on the other side. Then I caught you, didn't I? However, Chin Shi didn't intend to admit defeat. Master Dashan, let me show you my unique skills. He held the wrist of his right hand with his left hand, and his whole body bent his legs like a slingshot. Black Magatama appeared in his eyes, and the Sharingan opened. Countless electric lights came from his hands, just like thousands of chirping birds. This is Chidori. The cigarette butt fell to the ground, and Chef Dashan's face finally showed a trace of emotion. Wow, a freshman actually mastered an epic skill. It's really, the waves behind push the waves ahead. Quote. He said. He jumped on the spot, like a boxer warming up before the game. But I don't plan to lose. He grinned. I heard that Chidori can greatly increase the user's charge speed. But today, let me teach you a lesson. What is speed? Come on, attack, boy. Chin-shi was not polite. His right hand drew an arc and swung, and the electric light gathered. The entire stage floor tile, as he swung his right hand, scratched a small arc-shaped pit. The current bursting from the right hand alone was enough to burn the floor tiles. Master Dashin, I'm on. Chin-shi roared, holding up his right hand wrapped in lightning and running towards the opponent. This speed is like a shot arrow. Dashin praised again. He still stood in the same place, just raised his right foot. Navy 6 styles, shave. Quote. The floor tiles under his feet exploded instantly. And his figure disappeared from the spot and appeared directly beside the advancing Chin-shi. Young man, you have a bright future, but this time. Dashin whistled and kicked out with a devilish kick, hitting Chin-shi's abdomen. You still have to pay some tuition. He smiled and was about to say something encouraging as an elder. Suddenly his face changed. What? The attack hit, but Dashin's eyes were full of confusion. Because Chin-shi under his feet also turned into green smoke. How could it be, also a clone? Just when he was stunned, a young man's voice sounded from behind him. General, Master Dashin. Quote. Chin-shi stood behind him in a running posture. His hands were full of lightning, maintaining the form of Chidori, and pressed against Dashin's back. Dashin slowly turned his head and tilted his head to think for a moment. Is it that kunai? Quote. Chin-shi nodded. When he came on stage, he used a smoke bomb before performing the ninjutsu. When the smoke dissipated, revealing the figures of two Chin-shi, Chef Dashin used the shadow clone technique. But in fact, in addition to the shadow clone technique, Chin-shi also used the transformation technique. He turned himself into a kunai in the hands of the clone. Just when Dashin dodged all the kunai attacks without any pressure, Chin-shi had already hidden his body, waiting for the moment when the enemy relaxed. Later, Dashin focused on Chin-shi's clone who performed Chidori, and fought against the opponent with the Navy 6 styles. Chin-shi changed from kunai to real body again, and released his strongest ninjutsu, Chidori. And appeared behind Dashin at the moment when he thought he had defeated the enemy. I'm really tired. I was actually tricked by a freshman. It seems that it's time to go to the demon domain for an adventure and make myself young again. He looked at Chin-shi with admiration in his eyes. Excellent skill level, perfect combat thinking. How can you be a freshman? If you were to take the test now, you would have the strength of a 1-star demon hunter. Chin-shi touched his head embarrassedly after being praised by the chef. Actually, Master Dashin, you let me off. If you had used the observation haki from the beginning, how could I have fooled you with my little trick? In fact, even if Chef Dashin used the observation haki, he had a plan. After all, the shadow clone technique is different from the clone technique. The summoned clone is an entity that inherits one's own strength. Observation haki is not easy to distinguish. However, the success rate of sneak attacks will be discounted. You won. Not only did you block one of my moves, but you also forced me into a dangerous place. Over the years, I have interviewed so many freshmen. You are the second one who can take my move alone. Chef Dashin laughed. The second one. Chin-shi immediately became interested. Who was the first one? Dashin took out another cigarette and took a puff. I don't remember clearly, but I remember that it was a very beautiful girl named Long. It seems that she is now a great demon hunter. Lin Long. Chin-shi thought of the beautiful woman who saved him in Linhai City. Yes, it seems to be this name. This little girl shocked everyone at the time, and was finally accepted as an apprentice by the principal. Every time she comes to eat at my place, she has to drink a big bottle of wine. Oh, it's really a pleasure to watch such a beautiful girl eat the food I cook. Master Dashin exhaled a puff of smoke and smiled, as if recalling something beautiful. Chin-shi was silent. After all this time, Lin Long's alcoholic attribute has existed since she was a student. By the way, young man, see if there is any food on the dining car that you want. Dashin said with a smile, not at all depressed because of losing the competition. Chin-shi looked at the dining cart, then walked over and picked up a plate. Are you sure you want this? Master Dashin asked curiously. Because what Qin Shi had in his hand was exactly the same food as what was on the table of all the students. A plate of boiled meat. That's it. Qin Shi licked his tongue. I have never eaten such delicious meat since I was a child. This piece of meat is bland and tasteless when I first eat it, and even has a little fishy smell, which makes people unable to eat it. But after the whole piece of meat is eaten, there is an unusual fragrance lingering in the throat. It is so delicious that people will never forget it after eating it once. Hearing Qin Shi's answer, Master Dashan's eyes narrowed into a crescent moon, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He patted Qin Shi's shoulder fiercely. Good boy, you have good taste, haha. This piece of meat is not just boiled meat. This is a special dish I cooked with 12 special spices from the demon domain. Each spice cooks a part of this piece of meat. Each spice cooks a part of this piece of meat. Eating a piece of meat cooked with only one spice will be like chewing dry wood. But if you eat the whole piece of meat, the 12 spices will neutralize together and produce an incomparable aroma. When talking about his own work, Master Dashan was beaming with joy. The look he gave Qin Shi was not only admiration, but also a spirit. Like the spirit of meeting a soulmate. Young man, you have good taste, very good, Dashan, I like it very much, ha ha, ha ha ha. There are a few bottles of fruit beer on the table, you can take them too. By the way, there is this. Chef Dashan smiled and took out a square cooking box from his pocket. The box was opened, and inside was a golden round food the size of a palm. There was also a packet of ketchup next to it. This is potato pancakes. Qin Shi looked strange. Someone actually gave potato pancakes as gifts. Yes, potato pancakes. Chef Dashan smiled and saw Qin Shi's confusion. 3 years ago, Qingzi and I explored the demon domain and found a secret realm in the demon domain. That secret realm is a temple, which enshrines a snow-white wolf monster that can use the power of ice and wind. There are many monsters and mechanisms in the temple. Qingzi and I almost lost our lives, and we finally passed the secret realm. Finally, I got the recipe for making this potato pancake. Chef Dashan pointed to the golden potato pancake in his hand. The ingredients in the recipe are very ordinary, only pine cones, potatoes and jam, but the production process is very simple, very complicated. Quote, even I spent 3 times to make a perfect potato pancake dish. Although he was modest in his words, there was a sense of pride on Master Dashan's face. Perfect, ordinary, and failed, 3 levels of cooking. A chef who can make a perfect dish once can already be a chef in a hotel. Any chef who gets a new recipe and wants to make it perfect is almost impossible without thousands of training. But Master Dashan, who is so strong, only used it 3 times, which is already an inhuman cooking skill. Don't underestimate it. This is a special dish, not only tastes great, but also has magical effects. This potato pancake can quickly restore your vitality when you are seriously injured. For demon hunters below 2 stars, as long as they are not seriously injured, eating this pancake can heal your injuries in a short time. Quote, Qin Shi was moved. This potato pancake not only fills the stomach, but is also a high-level medicine. With this dish, he is equivalent to having an extra life. He has the capital to dawdle on the edge of death. A moment of silence. Qin Shi suddenly felt that Master Dashan's description was familiar. Master Dashan, this potato pancake you made. It won't be called Mond potato pancake, right? Huh, Chef Dashan raised his eyebrows. You know all this, you have seen a lot, kid. That's right, the name of this dish is recorded in the recipe I got, it's called Mond potato pancake. After this dish is made, even the box for the potato pancake is specially bought by me, which can ensure that the dish will not deteriorate for several months. Quote, Qin Shi understood. The temple that both Dashan and Qingzi could not handle. It turned out to be a secret place from the world of Genshin Impact, the temple of the North Wind Wolf. In that kind of temple, there are trials of fire and lightning, and only after passing the level can you get rewards. And the recipe for making this potato pancake. It is one of the rewards for passing the level, a special cooking recipe from the world of Genshin Impact. No wonder it has such magical effects. This is no longer a simple dish, but a precious gift that can save lives. You must have spent a lot of effort. Qin Shi looked at the cooking box in the hands of Chef Dashan. The box is crystal clear, engraved with a special formation, and you can faintly see the flow of spiritual power. It is far from that kind of stainless steel insulation box. The cooking box in Dashan's hand is a high-end storage device. Tiangong College often makes different storage boxes according to the needs of different people. This cooking box is designed for chefs. Although the space is small, the time flow rate inside is almost zero. So no matter what kind of demanding ingredients are put in this cooking box, they will not rot. As long as it is not opened frequently, even the temperature can be maintained at the moment of taking out the pot. Much more advanced than a refrigerator. This is the favorite box for top chefs to collect precious dishes. Of course, the disadvantage is that it is very expensive. It's not good for me to take away such a valuable gift. Qin Shi shook his head and did not take it. Dashan stuffed the cooking box with potato cakes to Qin Shi. This is not a gift for you, it's an investment, you know, young man. When you become stronger and go to the demon realm for trials, if you see any special ingredients, please help me pack them in this cooking box and bring them back. I won't let you work in vain. I will pay you the corresponding coins or special dishes I made. This potato cake and cooking box are the gifts for our cooperation, haha. Patting Qin Shi on the shoulder, Dashan laughed and was in a very good mood. It's hard to find a true friend. You can eat this piece of meat cooked with 12 spices slowly in the restaurant. I'm going to the kitchen to work. Put the plate on the table after you finish eating. I'll clean it up later. He snapped his fingers. All the dining carts turned around as if they had spirits, and then followed him to the kitchen. Qin Shi put the cooking box in his ninja backpack, and then walked back to the dining table in the corner with the meat. Old Qin, you're right. Pei Bu was lying on 2 chairs, rubbing his belly with satisfaction. Really, this piece of beef is so delicious. I'm glad I listened to you and ate all of it. I was saying, how could the dignified chef of Dashan fool us about the food? Those stupid students kept saying it was unpalatable, so no one ate all the meat. What a pity, haha. Qin Shi smiled. Most of the students who come to the Demon Hunting Academy are from very wealthy families. They have been living a life of luxury since childhood, and they really don't like this piece of beef that is so tasteless that it's not even cut. Sixth brother, the point now is whether the beef is delicious. Wang Mao Li kindly stuffed the remaining meat into his mouth. He pointed at Qin Shi with a water cup, and couldn't speak clearly. The point is Lao Qin. Oh my god, B-level inheritance, performs more vigorously than those S-level inheritance students. You two, one is from the richest merchant family in Jojo, and the other is so powerful that he can't even beat the S-level students. Don't I live in the Osiris Red dormitory? I feel so stressed. After drinking the boiled water in the cup in one gulp, Li Shani looked melancholy. Qin Shi and Pei Bu laughed. You are talking so much nonsense. Is there so much mess in college friendship? Drink, and shut your mouth with the fruit beer that Lao Qin brought back. Pei Bu took a can of fruit beer and threw it to Huang Mao, and, snapped, the pull ring of the beer can. Come on, Lao Qin, you also have some. My elder brother and second brother told me that college roommates are good brothers for life. For our future friendship, let's have a clink. The next day, 8 o'clock in the morning. Qin Shi was disheveled, and he put on his school uniform jacket while running. He was still okay. Pei Bu and Li Shani wore their school uniform pants when they were running. Drinking will cause trouble. I regret drinking that beer with you. Qin Shi's face was full of regret. According to teacher Qingzi's arrangement yesterday, everyone should gather in the square at 7:30. That's right, but Lao Qin, you only drank a sip, and it was fruit beer. Tisk, you embarrassed our dormitory 304. Pei Bu did not forget to backstab while running. When the 3 people ran to the playground, the rest of the students had already lined up according to the color of their school uniforms. Under the stern gaze of teacher Qingzi, the 3 people lined up at the end of the line in disgrace. Another 3 minutes passed. The naked-chested principal rumbled over. He ran up to the podium, sat down in the middle seat, and then grabbed the microphone. Sorry, students, I drank a few too many glasses last night and overslept. But I hope you can adapt. I have never been a punctual person. However, I can be late, but if you dare to be late, as long as I catch you once, I will let you know what it means to be a spoiled child. Quote. Why are you so domineering? Because I am the principal, I am very strong, no one can control me. If one day you are as strong as me, you can also be late, that's it. He coughed a few times. Let's get down to business. First, I will divide you into classes. He yawned and pointed at a student in the audience. That cross-eyed student, yes, I'm talking about you. Using him as a benchmark, the students on the right collectively take 10 steps to the right. The old man continued to glance. Cross-eyed includes the students on his left, and you will be in the same class from now on. It will be called Class A1. Remember, you must stick together, share happiness and difficulties. Quote. As soon as the old man spoke, the whole audience was in an uproar. Just pointing casually like this, the class was divided. Qin Shi immediately looked at the first batch of classes that were divided. This old man. Did he really just point casually? He found that in the first class that the old man had divided, all the students were wearing yellow school uniforms. And the number of people was no more, no less, 30. Quiet. The old man slapped the table on the podium. Arnold, you will be their class teacher. In the group of lecturers. The handsome man, who had recovered his vitality and had a rosy face again, nodded. He closed the four-leaf clover magic book in his hand and walked to the queue of Class A. The old man then pointed at people casually, and the students on the left were still divided into the same class, and then a teacher was assigned to be the class teacher. All the students pointed at were students wearing yellow school uniforms. As a result, in just 1 minute, classes A1 to A11 had been divided into classes. Students in yellow and blue school uniforms retreated to the edge of the playground. Quote. The principal shouted loudly, and the only students on the playground were those in red uniforms. You, and the students on your left, are in Class B1. This time it was not 30 people, but 60 people. From Class B1 to Class B11, 600 students in red uniforms were quickly divided into classes. Qin Shi's roommate was lucky enough to be assigned to a class, Class B7. And the head teacher was actually their old acquaintance, Qing Ji. Hi, classmates, we meet again. Qing Ji smiled and waved to Qin Shi and the other two, then stood beside them. He did not stand at the front of the line like other teachers. All right, now the class division is over, each class teacher should take good care of their students. The principal waved his hand and announced that the class division was complete. Qin Shi raised his eyebrows. The students in red and yellow uniforms have been divided into classes, so, what about those students in blue uniforms? Not divided into S classes. Noticing Qin Shi's confusion, Pei Yula leaned over. Among the new students every year, those S-level inheritance students are formed into a separate class, without numbers, and only one name is used all the time. It's called the supernova class. And the class teacher assigned to them is also the strongest among all the lecturers. This year seems to be. Pei Yula looked left and right. Finally, he saw a man walk out of the lecturer group and stand in front of the 9 students in blue uniforms. This is a middle-aged man of about 35 years old. He is burly, wearing a black coat, a white cap, a square face, thick eyebrows, and a black beard. His face is cold, and the temperament of a strong man is unreserved. It's him, Pei Yula shouted in a low voice, and moved closer to Qin Shi. Old Qin, this person is not simple. His name is Kai Quan, and his inheritance is the Pirate King, S-level, and a Kainu, one of the 3 admirals of the Navy. His most glorious achievement is to kill the terrorist organization, Quan Xing. Quan Xing. Qin Shi looked strange. Isn't that the villain organization in the popular Chinese comic, Under One Person? How could it appear on the blue planet? Pei Yula didn't know what Qin Shi was thinking, and continued to talk to himself. Quanxing is recorded as a villain organization in the other worlds, one person under one. Someone on Blue Star is obsessed with their ideas and has set up a similar organization. The name is also used directly. 15 years ago, they were the most notorious organization on Blue Star, and all members were B-level or above. They did things based on their preferences, killed people wantonly, and created many terrorist incidents in various parts of Kyushu. Later, the Academy posted a hunting order, and all members of the Quanxing organization fled to the Demon Domain. He was still an intern demon hunter and went deep into the demon domain to hunt and kill. For 3 whole months, he wiped out the Quanxing organization by himself. Tisk tisk, my old man once commented that Kai Quan was too upright, his methods were fierce, and he could not tolerate a trace of evil in his eyes. But he also said that although he didn't like Kai Quan, he had to admit that he was very strong. He is also one of the candidates for the next president of the Demon Hunting Academy. Principal candidate. Qin Shi became interested. Who else? The principal of the Monster Hunting Academy is almost the strongest person in Kyushu. Those who can become candidates for the principal must have excellent heritage and talent. Qin Shi wants to eat this melon. Let me think. Pei Yula counted his fingers. At least 5 more people. In addition to Kai Quan, there is also the mixed-blood beauty girl, Lin Long, who is known as the strongest rising star. Her heritage is Altria Pendragon in the Fate Plane. And the genius boy Xiao Wu stationed in the Monster Locking Tower, the demon suppressing gate on the eastern border, whose heritage is Ulquiorra Cipher in the Death God Plane. And Bai Tro, the son of Principal Bai Qi, who has been in the demon domain for 10 years and has not returned yet, has a heritage of Isaac Netero in the Hunter full-time plane. As for the last one, Pei Yula nodded to the side. Right next to us. Qin Shi looked in the direction Pei Yula pointed. Outside the queue, Teacher Qingzi rubbed his head shyly. The last candidate for the principal is Senior Qingzi. Qin Shi almost shouted out in surprise. Yes, Teacher Qingzi, the descendant of Aokiji from the One Piece plane, is also S level. 3 years ago, the gray fog changed, and countless sea beasts invaded the wasteland state. Teacher Qingzi froze the sea for 800 miles alone, killed 9,000 monsters, and became famous in one battle. Frozen the sea for 800 miles, killed 9,000 monsters. Qin Shi looked at Teacher Qingzi with a friendly face, and couldn't imagine that he had experienced such a crazy battle. So I always thought that it would be Teacher Qingzi who would teach those S-level students. Who would have thought that he would become our class teacher? I don't know whether it is a blessing or a curse. Pei Yula sighed and accepted the reality helplessly. After the class division was completed, the principal cleared his throat. Next, we will conduct the entrance examination. When the students heard that there would be another test, they were completely upset. I don't want to take the exam. Oh my God, I didn't read any books during the summer vacation. Now I have to take the exam and I will die. I thought there would be no exams after entering college, but now it seems that I am too young. Quote. Quiet, the principal roared. All of you are the best in each city, but there is still a huge gap. If the teachers can't understand your true level, how can they teach students in accordance with their aptitude? Now, let's go to the examination venue. Arnold, it depends on you. The handsome teacher Arnold's face froze, and then smiled bitterly. Why me again? Although he complained, he didn't stop, and the 4-leaf clover magic book slowly floated up. Wind magic sky wind arc. The strong wind gathered in the square, forming a huge arc. The principal stepped on the bow of the wind boat first. Today's test location is in the forest behind the school. The wind boat flew high in the sky and soon flew over the forest. The strange thing is that there were no clouds and the weather was clear. But this forest was shrouded in thick fog and surrounded by high rock walls. You call it a forest? I'm afraid it's not as big as our high school campus. It's just a small forest at most. With such a high stone wall, are there any wild animals in this small forest? Looking down from the wind boat, the students had a panoramic view of the entire forest. Small forest. Gulala. The principal grinned. The content of your entrance exam this time is to survive as much as possible in this forest. I hope you have a good exam. The wind boat slowly landed. All students got off the boat and looked at the entrance to the misty forest in front of them. At the entrance, there was a wide-arched wooden door and colorful plant paintings. And a fat middle-aged sculpture with an iron pot on his head and a beard on his face. Why is this entrance the same as the gate of an amusement park? Qin Shi looked confused. Is this forest also an amusement park? Li Shani looked happy. The school is so good, it's said to be an entrance test, but the result is that we are just going to have fun. You think too much. Teacher Qingzi walked over with a smile and gave all the students in Class B7 an electronic watch. This forest is a secret place formed when the gray fog covered the desolate state 100 years ago. Strictly speaking, it is not a real forest, but an illusion, or a game copy. Game copy. Qin Shi put on the electronic watch given by the teacher, and the screen on the bracelet had lit up at some point, showing a big 0. Yes, a survival game copy. Chapter 51. Teacher Qingzi pointed to the students' bracelets. This bracelet will record your survival time in the forest. Any injuries you encounter in the forest will disappear after you leave the forest. If you die in the forest, you will appear directly at the gate, which is where we are standing now. Teacher Qingzi said, stomping on the ground hard. We call this the resurrection point. Although I don't know the principle of this forest, its strange illusion of immortality is also the place where we organize students to fight life and death. While Qingzi was speaking, more than 20 head teachers distributed watches to students in their classes. What are you waiting for, little ones? Hurry in. Remember, the longer you survive in the forest, the higher your test score will be. The starting score is 2 points. For every extra hour you live in the game, your score will double. The class with the best overall score, each student in the class will receive a rare item as a reward. And the last class, will be responsible for cleaning the school toilets for a month. When they heard that there were rewards and punishments, all the students dared not delay any longer. They all ran towards the entrance at a faster pace. Only Qin Shi, who walked at the end of the team, walked slowly towards the gate, looking around as he walked. 2 gates, with the sun painted on the left and the moon painted on the right. It's just that the sun pattern looks like a sunflower, while the moon looks like a skinny zombie. A wooden sign was hung on the door with a few words engraved on it. Dave's Paradise. Sunflower, zombie, Dave. Qin Shi had a vague guess in his mind. It can't be that. After everyone entered the misty forest, the gates slowly closed. Ah Ching, we suffered a lot in this forest back then. Teacher Arnold put away the 4-leaf clover book and came to Qingzi with a smile. How many hours did you survive back then? 20, 21. I stayed there for 22 hours. Qingzi said proudly. 22 hours, Teacher Arnold shouted. Our principal only stayed there for 23 hours back then, which is already the highest record. It is said that as long as you survive in there for 24 hours, this secret realm will be cleared. I don't know if it's true or not. But let alone clearing it, those who survived in there for more than 12 hours are already considered top students. I hope these students don't collapse when they come out of the forest. While the two were talking, a teacher wearing thick glasses walked up and pulled the iron pot hat of the Dave statue in front of the gate. After a few squeaks, a burst of powerful rock music sounded. Along with the rock band, there was also a deep voice of a middle-aged man. Hi, good morning, everyone. Another group of lovely adventurers have come to my paradise. Is it life? Is it death? Is it hiding in a dirty corner and lingering? Or bravely standing up to resist the attack of monsters? 999 freshmen, let's enjoy their performance. The metal statue of Dave, which was still before, now twisted its fat body in place like a living person. But the wires exposed between his neck showed that his true body was a robot. In contrast to the passionately dancing robots, there was collective silence among the teachers. Alas, I can never appreciate the aesthetics of those old men in the technical department of the college. Arnold blocked his sight with a magic book. Just a live broadcast robot, it can make people unable to bear watching. As the Dave robot twisted, swish, a bright light shot out from its eyes, presenting a huge light curtain in the air. Its ears suddenly became larger, making a dong-dong-dong sound, just like 2 speakers. The ultimate high-definition experience, the Emperor's surround sound. Let me, the robot Dave, take you to see an IMAX movie. Gulala, the annual freshman show is about to begin. The principal laughed and took out a huge gambling plate and countless black chips from somewhere. Including the Supernova class, there are 23 classes in total. Old rules, open a plate and see which class has the highest total score. 1 chip is 10,000 JoJo coins, buy it and leave it. Behind him, a beautiful teacher laughed. The highest total score, that must be a student from the Supernova class. In previous years, there were only 5 or 6 people in the Supernova class, and they all won the first place several times in a row. This year, there are 9 people. They are not like us in Class A, it can be compared with Class B. Said this, the beautiful teacher walked to the gambling table and bet 10 chips on Class A6. A full 1 million JoJo coins. Alas, as a teacher, how can I not support my own students? Other teachers also bet. Principal, can I not play? I have limited private money. If I lose, I will have to ask my wife for it. Teacher Qingzi looked bitter. Okay. The principal nodded, and then shouted to the other teachers who did not bet. The time limit is 10 minutes. If you don't bet now, you will not get a bonus at the end of the year. Qingzi instantly took out 20 chips from his pocket and placed them in the area of Class B7. To cheer up the students, I am obliged to do it. In the misty forest, the group of students did not know that they had become racehorses in the eyes of various teachers. Old Six, Wangmao, are you there? Quote, in the forest, Qin Shi called out softly. The fog was thick, and visibility was less than 3 meters. When we entered the forest, Lao Lu, Huang Mao and I were walking together, but now. Qin Shi looked around, and no one responded to him. Does it seem to be a random teleport? This forest is much larger than what we saw in the sky. At the same time, outside the forest, the teachers had already placed their bets and were staring at the screen nervously. Now it's really a matter of interest. The live camera was given to a student wearing a red school uniform and blonde hair. It was Qin Shi's roommate, Li Shani. He looked around nervously. Walla walla. Hearing the sound, Li Shani shuddered. Holding the sun wheel sword in his hand, he turned around tremblingly. The leaves fluttered. There was nothing unusual. It seems that I can't scare myself. Quote. Li Shani patted his chest. The principal said this is a survival game, and the longer you stay alive, the higher your score will be. Based on my experience of watching countless horror movies, the protagonists always want to explore everywhere, and finally die one after another. To put it bluntly, it's just asking for death. Li Shani tilted his head and thought. I'm different, I admit defeat. Just stay here and don't touch anything messy. I will definitely live a long time, hee. Go, I'm a fool. Teacher Qingzi couldn't help but burst out with beautiful Kyushu dialect. He invested 2 million Kyushu coins, and now his eyes are red. Li Shani is one of the students in his class. His friend Arnold also came over and looked at the student on the screen, and couldn't help shaking his head. Stupid, staying where he is, thinking he can keep himself safe. He doesn't even think about whether the academy will let him take advantage of this loophole. Before Arnold finished speaking, he saw a black shadow flashing on the screen. In the forest. What? Li Shani swallowed nervously. The fog in the forest limited his vision. Things over 5 meters away are basically invisible. Swish. Another black shadow. Li Shani turned around instinctively. He found that a giant purple flower bud was standing behind him. The flower bud slowly opened, revealing 2 rows of sharp teeth. This is a terrifying big-mouthed flower. What is this thing? Li Shani shouted and was about to get up and run away. However, the big-mouthed flower did not give him a chance and bit down fiercely. As the big-mouthed flower chewed, Li Shani's screams became weaker and weaker. Ouch! The first student has been eliminated. Then let's see who this lucky guy is. Dave the robot used the iron pot as a microphone and broadcasted passionately. Class B7, Li Shani. It turned out to be a student of our lovely teacher Qingzi. Survival time, 3 minutes. The final score is 2 points. To be honest, each contestant will get 2 points for entering the forest, so this yellow-haired contestant, you will definitely be at the bottom. The robot stretched out the tone. Teacher Qingzi on the side had a sullen face. Unexpectedly, it was his own student who was eliminated. According to the practice of previous years, some of the classes that were eliminated were the strongest contenders for the last place. Looking at the money he invested, Qingzi's heart was bleeding. Not long after, Li Shani was teleported out of the forest and appeared at the resurrection point. 2 paramedics ran up with a stretcher. Although his body was not injured, Li Shani's spirit had been ravaged by the big-mouth flower. If he had not received psychological counseling in time, he might have been left with a psychological shadow. Seeing the demented look on the face of Li Shani who was eliminated, Qingzi couldn't help but worry about his other student. Coincidentally, the live broadcast camera was just given to him. A little fat man wearing a famous watch on his hand, and the fat on his buttocks swaying around when he walked. At this moment, Pei Buliang was running hard. Not bad, at least I didn't wait stupidly in the same place. Looking at Pei Buliang's agile running on the screen, Qingzi nodded. It seems that this little fat man still has some brains. He didn't finish his words. Pei Buliang on the screen has already encountered the first mutant plant. It was a 2-meter tall melon, jumping towards him. There was a human expression on the melon's face, like an angry old man. This was a mutant plant called Waga. By moving constantly, we can find mutant plants that want to attack more quickly in the fog. Qingzi nodded with satisfaction. Most mutant plants are not very fast. For example, this Waga is not as fast as an old lady crossing the road. If you want to escape, it's easy as pie. On the screen, Pei Bu was excited when he saw Waga. Finally found you, the little monster in the forest. He did not run away, but twisted and ran up. Hurry up, kill me, so I can go outside and lie down. An entrance examination takes a whole day and night. Isn't this idle? I might as well be eliminated early, drink tea outside, and watch others struggle to survive in here. Waga stared at Pei Bu's eyes. Those were a pair of sincere eyes that were eager to be death. The melon jumped up and smashed over. Pei Bu's wish was fulfilled. Ah, another student was eliminated. The elimination rate of freshmen this year is a bit fast. In previous years, someone would be eliminated for the first time more than an hour later. Dave Robot once again reported live with a loud voice. Let's see who the lucky one is. B7 class. Pei Bu. Teacher Qingzi, why is it your class again? The sarcasm was transmitted to Qingzi's ears at the right time. Everyone laughed. The whole viewing area was filled with a happy atmosphere. This group of fools. Thesi don't want to be the head teacher of this broken class anymore. The beautiful Kyushu dialect burst out again. Teacher Qingzi was so angry that he threw the eye mask on his head to the ground. The live screen played several other students in yellow school uniforms. They hid from monsters neatly and carefully explored the surroundings. There were even a few students who could barely kill plants. Looking at the wonderful performance of his students, Teacher Arnold showed a satisfied smile. Looking at the depressed look of his friend. Contrast creates happiness. Arnold suddenly felt that the principal's gamble didn't seem to be a bad thing. The live screen switched the perspective again and came to a certain place in the forest. The student on the screen was wearing a red school uniform and carrying a ninjutsu backpack on his back. It was Qin Shi, the only one left in the dormitory 304 of Osiris. The thick fog obscured Qin Shi's sight, but every time he rushed left and right in the forest as if he was unhindered. Just now I found that there are many living things in this forest. Quote, as long as I stop for a while, the living creatures nearby will start to surround me. Qin Shi whispered while running. Suddenly stopped. The black magatama turned in his eye sockets. There are only 2 living creatures nearby, and judging from the amount of spiritual energy, they are not powerful monsters. We can see what these living creatures are. He pulled out his Zanpakudo Asado from his back and held Asado across his chest in a defensive position. Outside the screen, Arnold shook his head and approached Qingzi. Old Qing, you, the student, knew how to run before, why are you standing in one place now, not moving? Are you tired of running so quickly? With this level, you won't be eliminated for long. Qingzi stared at the screen, clenched his fists, and tried to cheer up. Arnold, I'm afraid you're going to guess wrong this time. Quote, I'll make a bet with you. There are 60 people in my class. If anyone can make it to the end, I guess it's this student. When Arnold heard his friend speak so highly of the student on the screen, he couldn't help but look up again. Really, he said unexpectedly. Look at his defensive look. He took the initiative to choose this place and wait for those plant monsters. This is still the type of active attack. But this boy is unlucky. It can be seen on the screen that 2 mutant plants are approaching him at the same time. If you are not careful, you will be eliminated. The 2 observed with great interest. Want to see if this Qin Shi is as strategic and powerful as they thought. The live camera switched again. The beautiful Kyushu dialect jumped out of the mouths of the 2 at the same time. In the misty forest, Qin Shi turned his head suddenly and waved the shallow sword in his hand. One by one, the green spherical objects shot out from the mist were accurately picked up by his shallow sword. Is this a pea? Qin Shi looked at the green ball as big as a bowl that was cut in half. In the Sharingan, a strange plant with a barrel-shaped head and 4 green leaves crawling on its lower limbs appeared. It was crawling towards him quickly. That's right, this is the pea shooter. Qin Shi took a deep breath. Dave's paradise. It's that crazy Dave. Here, it's the world of plants versus zombies. Plants versus zombies. Qin Shi is no stranger to this strategy game that has been popular on Earth for many years. In the game, players need to place different plants to quickly and effectively block zombies on the way of invasion. These plants in the game don't move. He looked at the plants in front of him. Survival game. Has it been transformed into a survival version of Plants vs. Zombies? Plants and zombies are our enemies. The pea shooter approached him quickly, and high-speed peas shot at him. Qin Shi turned his head slightly, bent down, and avoided all the peas. Under the strong dynamic vision of his Sharingan, the pea shooter's shooting was like throwing a light balloon. The threat to Qin Shi was pitifully small. Knowing what you are, there is nothing to be afraid of. Qin Shi waved the shallow long sword in his hand. It's just right for me to try it out. Is this knife sharp? He rushed forward, running at high speed while dodging the pea shooter's shooting. No pressure. With this shooting speed, you are not even qualified to be my sparring partner. Sure enough, it's just a primary plant, and it's still very weak. The pea shooter appeared in front of him, and Qin Shi went up and slashed it. Cut off the root waste of the pea shooter with one knife. The system doesn't have rewards for killing monsters. Is it because this secret realm is a game copy, and monsters are not real lives? Just when he felt that he had lost in killing monsters, a ding sound appeared in his ears. Ding, the host killed the mutant plant pea shooter. Ding, because the host killed the mutant plant in the secret realm, Dave's paradise, the trigger condition was met. Limited time secret realm task is started. Hearing the familiar system mechanical sound, Qin Shi was stunned. Entering the secret realm can also trigger system tasks. Ding, every secret realm is an opportunity for the host to become stronger, and the system will also issue corresponding tasks. Limited time secret realm task 1, Plant Harvester. Required to kill 30 different types of mutant plants within 12 hours, current completion rate, 1/30. Task completed, reward 10 skill points, inheritance value plus 1000. Reward special ninjutsu, summoning technique, and a special summoning opportunity. Special summoning opportunity. Select a monster, and after 15 minutes, the monster will be automatically contracted. Is it so good? Qin Shi's face was overjoyed. Summoning technique is one of the general ninjutsu in the world of Naruto. It is a space-time ninjutsu that the caster and the summoned beast sign a blood contract relationship and then perform the summoning. In the world of Naruto, the summoning technique is not considered advanced, but only AC level ninjutsu. But there are many users. Because it has a high upper limit, as long as the summoned beast is strong enough, it can form a strong combat power. For example, the Monkey King and Monkey Demon, summoned by the 3rd generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. For example, the 10,000 Snakes, summoned by Orochimaru. They are all powerful summoned beasts that can greatly affect the battle situation. But the biggest difficulty of the summoning technique is to contract a powerful summoned beast. But if you don't have a few brushes, except for Naruto, the level of the genin is to contract with the relatives of Toad Yoshi. Otherwise, if you encounter a powerful spirit beast, you will be lucky not to be eaten, not to mention signing the contract obediently. But the system's reward actually includes a special spirit opportunity. Qin Shi looked at the task description. It can be said that this reward is the most exciting part of all the rewards. As long as you encounter a powerful monster and select it, and then persist for 15 minutes, you can automatically succeed in the contract. The system reminds the host that in addition to the system tasks, each secret realm will give challengers unique rewards. The premise is that the challenger can pass the secret realm. Pass? Qin Shi asked curiously. Yes, for example, this secret realm, the full name is Dave's Paradise. It belongs to the survival secret realm. Survive in the secret realm for 24 hours. After listening to the system explanation, Qin Shi's heart suddenly became hot. There is a clearance reward. I didn't hear the teachers talk about it before I came here. Tisk tisk, they kept it to themselves. In fact, it's not the teachers of the academy who are to blame. The secret realm, Dave's paradise, only opens survival tasks to the inheritors who enter the secret realm for the first time. This is what countless students have gained through their own experience. If you enter it for the second time, the plants will not only not attack actively, but will also deliberately avoid the entrance. Even if you stay in it for a long time, nothing will happen, let alone any rewards. Moreover, no one has cleared the secret realm, Dave's paradise, since it was discovered. Naturally, no one would know that there is a clearance reward. 2 goals: kill plants to get task rewards, and survive in this forest for 24 hours and clear the secret realm. I feel motivated all of a sudden. Qin Shi twisted his body. There is another plant, just in time for me to test it. He swung the long knife in his hand and ran quickly in another direction. On the other side of the forest, a melon with an angry expression was jumping and slowly approaching him. Is it a squash? Qin Shi looked at the strange plant in his eyes. Squid, in Plants vs. Zombies, can summon low-level plants by consuming a small amount of sun. The price is not high, but it can cause a lot of damage to the target after aiming at the target and stepping on it. Of course, after the squid hits the target, it will also shatter. A disposable plant. Every jump of the squid on the enemy is a dance of life. The squid jumps, and every time it jumps and lands, it smashes a small pit in the ground. It's quite powerful. Seeing that it will soon hit the squid, Qin Shi suddenly stretched out the elastic silk thread in his hand. Pulling himself up a tree. He stood on a high branch, with the knife inserted beside him, and his fingers made a pistol gesture. Oh Lord, the mask of flesh and blood, the myriad things, the things that fly high with wings, the things that bear the name of humanity. The heat and strife, the seas rolling back to the south, march forward. The 31st of the broken path, the red fire cannon. With a bang, Qin Shi shot the fireball in his hand and hit the gourd accurately. After a wailing, the gourd ignited flames and then turned into ashes. Ding, the host killed the mutant plant gourd. Limited time secret realm mission, plant harvester, completion rate, 2/30. Fire overcomes wood. It turns out that shooting from behind is much more fun than fighting head-on. Qin Shi licked his lips. Let me see, where are there any more mutant plants? Standing on the branch, Qin Shi looked into the distance. In the white mist, a group of red dots appeared in Qin Shi's eyes. This is the scene of the flow of plant spiritual power under the effect of the Sharingan. So many mutant plants. Qin Shi was shocked. Not far away, the red dots representing spiritual power were densely packed, no less than 20. The key is that they are all concentrated in one place and very close to each other. 20 mutant plants, even if each of them seems to have weak spiritual power, it will not be easy if they attack me in groups. Just when he was hesitating whether to avoid the 20 mutant plants, an unusual sign made him curious. Those red dots have not moved since they were discovered before. Why don't those mutant plants attack the entrance like the pea shooters and squashes we met before? He nodded in thought. Could it be that kind of plant? An idea appeared in his mind. If that's the case, I can go and take a look. After making up his mind, Qin Shi jumped down from the tree and walked towards the direction of the red dots seen by the Sharingan. Not far away, a strange wasteland appeared in front of him. In the misty forest, if it were not shrouded in thick fog. What appeared in everyone's eyes was also a green forest. But deep in the lush forest, there was a wasteland with almost nothing. Not only are there no trees, but even flowers and plants are very scarce. On the ground, apart from the scattered stones, there are only a few dots, like small silver marbles. If Qin Shi hadn't had sharp eyes, he might not have been able to see these small silver balls. He would have thought they were just stones on the ground. The barren open space was incompatible with the dense forest around it. There must be something wrong when things are abnormal. Qin Shi did not venture into the wasteland, but used the Sharingan to observe. Under the wasteland, the dots of red light he had observed before appeared in his field of vision again. It means that the group of mutant plants are under this wasteland. It can't be wrong. Shi took out a kunai from his ninjutsu backpack. This group of mutant plants in the wasteland is potato mines. He threw a kunai in his hand quickly. Bang! The kunai fell to the ground, and an explosion suddenly sounded, raising a cloud of dust. Shi kept firing the kunai in his hand. Bang! 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 Explosions continued to sound in the open space. Under the observation of the Sharingan, the red dots on the ground kept disappearing. Finally, there were no more red dots. Ding! The host killed the mutant plant potato mine 10. Limited time mission. Plant harvester, completion rate, 3/30. Woohoo, done. Next, just when Shi was in high spirits and was about to continue looking for mutant plants. Help, help. Suddenly, an urgent cry for help came from his ears. Shi immediately followed the sound and walked a distance, then pushed aside the bushes in front of him. A beautiful girl in a red school uniform and blue short hair was crying. Who will save Xiao Mu? Wow, brother, Xiao Mu said he didn't want to come to this academy. Here, it's so scary. She stumbled while running and fell on the grass. Behind her, a big-mouthed flower with a bloody mouth and twisted roots was running slowly. Red school uniform, is a B-level inheritance student like me. It seems, a classmate. The time for class division was too short, and Shi only took a quick look at his classmates. Most people didn't remember, but he still left an impression on a few beautiful girls. Especially the girl in front of him. Blue hair, white face, and pleasing facial features. The most important thing is that the loli has a delicate figure, but has a proud C-cup. If she is not wearing an old-fashioned school uniform, but a lace-made skirt, paired with a white bath towel headdress, and long-legged white stockings. That feeling, it was so good. For some reason, Shi suddenly had this thought in his mind, idea. Ah, how come I even imagined its appearance? He looked at the big-mouthed flower behind the girl, raised his right hand, and narrowed his left eye. Just like a pistol aiming and shooting. I wonder if one shot is enough. The big-mouthed flower opened its big mouth full of sharp teeth and shook its head. Amid the girl's screams, the big mouth was raised high. Boom! An explosion sounded. The girl stared blankly at the big-mouthed flower in front of her. But the big mouth was gone, leaving only a swaying branch. Then, the branch fell to the ground, and the whole big-mouthed flower turned into ashes. The mechanical sound of the system sounded immediately. Ding! The host killed the mutant plant big-mouthed flower. Limited time mission. Plant harvester, completion, 4/30. Ha! Shi blew on his smoking fingers. Hero saves beauty, success. Although he saved the other party, he did not intend to go over to make the girl grateful to him. After all, it was just a red cannon. He also killed a mutant plant that he had never seen before, which was a small profit. The most important thing is, what if this girl relies on him and begs him to protect him? Can he still be cruel enough to reject such a cute girl? The matter is done and he will leave, hiding his merits and fame. Shi put down the bushes that were pushed away by Qian Da and turned to leave. The moment he left, the lowly girl turned her head and looked at the bushes. Only vaguely saw Shi's handsome profile. That is, classmate Shi. The girl struggled to get up from the ground, and patted her chest that was still shaking violently with her little hand. It seems that he came here to save me. The time for class division was too short, and the girl only took a quick look at her classmates. She didn't remember most of them, but she still remembered a few handsome boys. Especially the boy named Shi. He had a handsome face and a good-looking appearance. More importantly, his eyes were clear. He left a deep impression on her. Ying, a hero saving a beauty. Amu, what should I do? Should I pledge my love to him like in the TV series? The girl stayed where she was, holding her cheeks with her hands, her face flushed. With just a side profile, she had already thought of the name of the child. In the misty forest, Shi imitated the running posture of the ninja in Naruto, jumping back and forth between the branches. Lucky, I have killed 3 mutant plants. But I found a troublesome thing. He paused and stopped on a tree. He stood upside down in the air, standing under a thick branch. If I accidentally encounter other students hunting mutant plants that they have never seen, I will be exposed. What if others want to practice, or save the beauty like me? I am not saving people, but grabbing the prize. I have to think of a way to hide my identity. After all, I just came to the Demon Hunting Academy, so I still have to keep a low profile and not attract hatred. He reached into the ninjutsu backpack. I remember there is something that can come in handy. Look for it. Got it. He took out a cat-faced mask with red patterns and eye patterns from his backpack. This mask looks familiar. Chin-shi looked at the cat-faced mask in his hand. It seems to be the mask that Kakashi wore when he was still in the Anbu in Naruto. In Naruto, the Anbu members of each village will wear a mask. After all, they are people who perform high-risk tasks, and it is inevitable to make friends with enemies, so masks are needed to hide their identities. Of course, there is another direct function. It is to protect the face. The masks of the Anbu are all made of special materials and are very strong. Chin-shi touched the cat-faced mask in his hand. It seems to be made of wood. It feels light but is as hard as steel. He took out a kunai and stabbed the mask hard. There was not even a scratch. If you wear this mask, you can probably use your face to catch the sword. He put on the mask. The mechanical sound of the system suddenly sounded in my ears. Ding! It is detected that the host wears a ninja mask, and the behavior is determined to imitate the inherited character Uchiha Obito. Inheritance value plus 500. Imitate Obito. Chin-shi was surprised. Wear a mask, and get 500 inheritance points. He remembered that in the Naruto anime, Obito's appearance was always closely related to the mask. After the Battle of Kanabi Bridge, Obito wore the white Zetsu mask. When he manipulated the Nine Tails to destroy Konoha, Obito wore a red tiger mask. When he joined the Akatsuki under the pseudonym Afei, he wore an orange vortex mask. When he got the Samsara Eye and started the Ninja World War, he wore a white Magatama Samsara Eye mask. These 4 masks represent 4 different life situations of Obito. It can be said that Obito is a tragic character in the Naruto world who has always lived under a mask. Yes, Obito always wears a mask, but why is it that wearing a mask is considered imitation, and the key is that it also adds points? Chin-shi suddenly remembered that when he first met Senior Chingzi, he saw him wearing a green eye patch on his forehead. Using similar clothing, dress, words and deeds, and even doing similar behaviors to the inherited different world characters. So that's it, is this the role-playing method? He suddenly remembered that Pei Buell introduced him to Kai Kwan's experience at the class division ceremony. The terrorist organization, Kwangsing, many years ago is probably the inheritance of many members of Kwangsing members in one person under one person. Those inheritors, on Blue Star, actually acted according to the unbridled indulgence of the inherited characters, and even took the same organization name. I was curious at the time, but now I think about it. This may also be a way for them to use role-playing to improve their strength. Including the eye patch on Teacher Chingzi's forehead, Principal Bai's ghostly laughter. While he was thinking, the system's broadcast did not stop. Ding! The host's inheritance value has reached the upgrade requirements, inheritance upgrade. Current inheritance level, LV6. Congratulations to the host for breaking through level 5, a small system function will be enabled. System storage function is enabled. Open space, 6 cubic meters. Storage space will increase as the host's level increases. Congratulations to the host for successfully upgrading, reward skill points, 3. Randomly drawing rewards. Congratulations to the host for his great luck, and receiving 1,000 detonating talismans. And reward ninjutsu. Fire escape detonating flame formation. Oh my god, I made a fortune. Chin-shi fell directly from the tree. After a backflip and landing steadily, Chin-shi hurriedly checked the system's rewards. Concentrating, he felt that he saw a small room in the void. Is this the storage space that comes with the system? 6 cubic meters of storage space, the volume is not small. Chin-shi put everything in the ninja backpack, including his own Zanpakuto Shodachi. Then, he stretched out his hand, thinking about what he wanted to extract. In less than a second, the Shodachi appeared in his hand. Storage and extraction are very convenient, worthy of the function produced by the system. Fragrant, really fragrant. He looked at the storage space again, and 1,000 detonating talismans floated quietly in the corner. 1,000, a full 1,000, my god. Detonating talismans, general-purpose talismans in Naruto. After detonation, it will explode after a certain period of time, and the power is not bad. The point is that the detonating talisman is expensive, except for the paper god Conan in Naruto. No one has used the detonating talisman on a large scale. In the Kyushu world, a detonating talisman can be sold for about 10,000 Kyushu coins. Once the system sells it, it's 10 million Kyushu coins. Really? So rich? Chin-shi looked at a dozen thick detonating talismans, just like looking at thick banknotes. After feeling unsatisfied, Chin-shi looked at the last ninjutsu reward. Fire escape. Detonating flame formation. In the Naruto world, the fire escape ninjutsu used by the demigod salamander Hanzo. Bury a large number of detonating talismans in the ground in advance. When the opponent steps on it, the caster will control the detonating talismans under the enemy's feet and let them stick to the opponent's legs. Then, bang bang bang, injure the opponent. It is a powerful detonating talisman ninjutsu. A ninjutsu that is so compatible with 1,000 detonating talismans. In this situation, I want to say, explosion is art. Chin-shi added some points to it without hesitation. I also clicked on other skills that were still at level 1. Open the system panel. Host, Chin-shi. Inheritance name, Six Paths Obito Naruto type. Inheritance level, LV6 400 2000ths. Current spiritual power value, 19 cards. Remaining skill points, 4. Unlocked bloodline limit, double Magatama Sharingan. Learned skills, Taijutsu LV2, Throwing Technique LV2, 3 Body Technique LV2. Windmill 3 Great Swords LV2, Great Fireball Technique LV2, Phoenix Fire Technique LV2, Shadow Clone Technique LV2. Earth Dragon Hidden Technique LV2, Heart Decapitation Technique, Sharingan Copy Skills, 31 Red Cannons of Hado LV2, 26 Curved Lights of Binding LV2, 39 Circular Gates of Binding LV2, Instant Body Technique LV2. Equipment, Zanpakudo, Shallow Hit, 1000 Exploding Talismans. Special Cuisine, Mond Potato Pancake. Unlocked System Function, Space Storage 6 cubic meters. Unlocked Illusion, Torture Technique LV2, Effect evolves with Sharingan Evolution. Carrying a huge fortune, Chin-shi straightened his chest and felt more energetic when walking. Let's go, do the mission. He put on the cat face mask and held 2 kunai in his hands. He ran fast in the forest. The thick fog could not block the super insight of the Sharingan. After a while, he found 2 male students. One of them was wearing a red school uniform and the other was wearing a yellow school uniform. They were back to back, struggling to resist the mutant plants. Seeing Chin-shi, they showed joy on their faces. Classmate, help me, let's deal with these plants together. Chin-shi looked up. A squash and a big-mouthed flower. These 2 have been beaten, what a pity. Sorry, I'm in a hurry. Before the 2 classmates could react, Chin-shi's figure had disappeared. Only the 2 students were left in the wind. 3 hours later, Chin-shi was on the trunk of a big tree. Click on the task interface. Limited time task, Plant Harvester, completion rate, 7/30. Alas, my luck is bad. I encountered either peas or big-mouthed flowers, and there were no new plants. Chin-shi fiddled with the kunai in his hand. After 3 hours of searching, he encountered 12 classmates. When encountering plants that he had never seen before, Chin-shi turned into a savior to save his classmates from danger. If the plant has been killed, then I'm sorry. After all, it's a survival game, and it's all about personal survival ability. Chin-shi is not obliged to be a good guy in this misty forest. 7 kinds of plants, namely pea shooters, pumpkins, potato mines, big-mouthed flowers, torch stumps, nuts, and a cabbage pitcher. Chin-shi looked at the 7/30th task completion rate. I have killed some of the more common but weaker plants. It's called a survival game, but there's no pressure at all. This forest is a little peaceful. Just as Chin-shi was hanging upside down on a branch and sighing. Outside the misty forest, the teachers of the Monster Hunting Academy were eating hot pot, singing songs, and enjoying the live broadcasts of the freshmen's games. The entire entrance exam will last for 24 hours. All the teachers think that this is a good time for the teachers to do team building party. The shirtless principal Bai was holding a wine pot as big as a bucket in one hand. He was holding his supreme knife in the other hand and standing in front of the roasted wild boar. drinking and eating meat in big mouthfuls. Tripe, duck intestines, beef balls, yam, duck blood, frozen tofu. Chef Dashan was holding a cigarette in his mouth and pushing a 3-meter-high giant food cart to shout in the crowd. 10 more plates of tripe. 2 voices sounded at the same time. Qingzi, holding his chopsticks, looked up at the other person who called Maadu. It was his mortal enemy, Chiquan. Chiquan glanced at Qingzi with his icy face. HMPH, a hot pot, tomato base, sweet sauce, not even coriander. Chiquan chewed the coriander in his mouth and wiped the spicy red oil on his mouth. Hot pot is like a person. With your cowardly personality, you are only worthy of eating sweet pot. Just like before, I was hoping that you would have the courage to compete for the head teacher of the supernova class, but you gave up on your own initiative. Not only that, you also ran over to become the head teacher of the garbage class. You are really self-degrading. A diner like you is also worthy of eating these 10 plates of Maadu. Chiquan stood up after speaking and prepared to take the Maadu down. A chill came along the ground to the dining car and froze the plate of Maadu. Qingji stood up calmly, with ice covering half of his face. Old Kai, you can say I can, but you can't say my students. They are my students, not trash. Kai Quan turned around and stared at him. A frenzy rose in his eyes. His whole body turned into hot magma. What's the matter? I just want to say it. Those B-level students are trash. He hadn't finished his words. Bang! A huge frost iron fist fell from the sky and hit the magma like Kai Quan fiercely. Haha, you made a move, you finally made a move. A crazy expression appeared on Kai Quan's face. Okay, let's fight it out and see who is the stronger one. He roared, and his fist turned into magma and blasted at the ice fist. Boom! A huge steam rose up, covering the square in front of the forest. The steam dissipated. Magma and frost, 2 huge elemental fists stopped in midair. In the middle of them, an old man stood there at some point. The old man was shirtless, with his hands open, and he stretched out a finger on each side to hold the fist. With just one finger, the huge frost fist and magma fist were like broken mirrors. 2 clicks, and then they shattered with a loud bang. Gulala! Principal Bai Chi held a half-person high wine pot in his mouth, raised his head, and gulped. He drank the wine in the wine pot in one breath. Burp. The old man touched his stomach. Why are young people so angry? Since you have different understandings of the class. Then let's do this, a bet. Let's bet on who has a higher total class score in this entrance exam. The bet is these 10 plates of tripe, and that legendary item, the key to the Hall of Valor. If you win, eat these 10 plates of tripe and get the key. The loser, hee, I hope you'll be quick when giving things. How about it? The principal looked at the 2 with a smile. After a moment of silence, the 2 of them retracted their fists. HMPH. Kai Quan snorted coldly. I have 9S level students in the supernova class this year, and there is also a genius from a noble family. What can you compare with me? I'll take your key to the Hall of Heroes. Qingji also showed his signature smile. That's not necessarily true. Teacher Kai, don't cry if you lose the key to the Hall of Heroes. Back to their respective seats. Arnold ran over immediately. Old Cheng, my brother Cheng, are you okay? Are you competing with the supernova class in the entrance exam? And the stakes are so high. That's the chance to enter the Hall of Heroes. Every demon hunter can only exchange the key once in his life with his merits. This is the best time for you to become stronger. If you lose the key, you will definitely not be able to compare with that iron-faced dog. Looking at his friend's anxious expression, Qingji smiled instead. He looked at his watch and turned his gaze back to the big screen. 3 hours have passed, and the entrance exam will be more difficult. It's hard to say who will win or lose. In the misty forest, a loud voice sounded, like a middle-aged man shouting loudly. Hello, freshmen. I am Dave, a hard-working gardener, a crazy scientist, and a farmer who loves plants the most. Welcome to my forest survival game. The 3-hour game experience period has passed. Did everyone have fun? Now, the game is going to be more difficult. Qin Shi looked around. This male voice seemed to come from all directions in the forest. Trial period. This game hasn't entered the official level yet. This is. Qin Shi looked up and looked at the sky. In the foggy sky, a string of numbers appeared clearly. 8 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. Countdown. The numbers kept changing. 58, 57, 56. The game is called Plants vs. Zombies, and it's time to start. From now on, the number of plants will increase tenfold. Like before, each plant has its own patrol range, which will be refreshed every hour. Only when you enter the plant's territory will the plant attack you. Do you think that as long as you hide well, you can safely hold on to the end? No, in 9 hours, it will be dark. On a dark night, bad things always happen in the forest. There will be dark creatures, zombies to attack you. Oh, by the way, I have good news for you. From now on, there is a chance to get plant cards by killing plants. Tear open the card, and there will be plants fighting for you. It is strongly recommended to accumulate cards for the coming of the night. Otherwise, you will die miserably, haha. The middle-aged man's game broadcast stopped abruptly. The devilish laughter was still echoing in the forest. Qin Shi propped his chin up in thought. The rules have changed. Zombies will attack players at night, requiring every student to take the initiative to kill plants. It looks like it's going to get lively. Outside the forest, the big screen kept switching the students' trial screens. Many people have found a safe zone from plant attacks and are sitting on the ground to rest. But the change in the rules of the game forced them to move. Of course, there are also those who just lie down. They stared at the countdown in the sky nonchalantly, just hoping to survive until night. As a result, 3 gourds suddenly jumped out from their backs and were beaten out. The patrol range of plants is refreshed once an hour, which means there is no absolute safe zone. With the arrival of noon, the fog in the misty forest not only did not dissipate at all. Instead, it became thicker. There was a chill in the air. Qin Shi maintained his Sharingan and suddenly turned around. The sword in his hand slashed at the air horizontally. Dang! The sword hit a round flying object, and a thin layer of frost immediately formed on the blade. In the field of vision of the Sharingan, a blue pea shooter ran over slowly. This is the advanced plant of the pea shooter, the ice shooter. Like the pea shooter, the ice shooter can only launch 1 pea per attack. But this pea has the attribute of ice. Once it hits the target, not only will the damage be higher, but it will also produce a freezing effect. Cause a slowing effect on the target for 10 seconds. One ice shooter is not scary, what is scary is a pile of ice. Qin Shi looked around. There were 10 ice shooters surrounding him. And they came from all directions, leaving him nowhere to hide. Sure enough, as the game prompt said, the number of plants has increased significantly. Qin Shi licked his lips. But, it's just what I want. System, upgrade the skill, Shadow Clone Technique. Shadow Clone Technique, B-level ninjutsu, can use chakra to create physical clones. Qin Shi's current ninjutsu level is LV2, and he can summon up to 2 clones. Now, he wants to summon more. Ding, upgrade B-level ninjutsu to LV3, you need to spend 3 skill points, do you want to pay? Hiss, 3 points. Qin Shi took a breath. If LV1 is the entry level for novices, LV2 is proficiency. And LV3 is the great success. Above the great success, it is the master. System, this is not how you charge. Qin Shi complained in his heart. Give me a discount, or, give me credit. The higher the skill proficiency, the more time and energy the user needs to spend. Correspondingly, more skill points will be consumed. This system has always been a fair business, based on the principle of mutual consent. No discounts, no credit. Okay, you're so cruel. Qin Shi gritted his teeth. Add for me. It only cost 3 skill points, I bought it in full. No need to pay in installments, it's not like I don't have the strength. Ding, received host request. Consume 3 skill points. Shadow Clone Technique has been upgraded to LV3. Shadow Clone Technique LV3 use spiritual power to summon a clone that is exactly the same as yourself. The clone will share your power equally, and a maximum of 4 clones can be summoned. Please note that you have practiced to the upper limit of Shadow Clone Technique, and further upgrading will make this ninjutsu evolve. Can it still evolve? Qin Shi became interested. How many skill points are needed to upgrade Shadow Clone Technique to LV4? 10 points. Why don't you go and rob it? Qin Shi cursed and turned off the system. 4 clones are enough. He put the knife on his waist and quickly formed seals with both hands. Bang! Quote. A puff of green smoke floated up. Including the original body, 5 Qin Shi appeared at the same time. Each clone has less than 4 cards of spiritual power, which has become much weaker all of a sudden. Qin Shi felt the change in the spiritual power in his body. But it is enough to deal with these plants, and a quick battle. 5 Qin Shi ran in different directions. Each of them faced 2 ice archers. Puff! Ice peas shot at Qin Shi. There was no fancy test. Qin Shi started with fire escape. Fire escape Phoenix fire technique. Quote. A series of small fireballs spurted out of his mouth, like the fruits of impatience. Compared to the great fireball technique, the impatience fire technique is less powerful. But it is a group attack skill, and the trajectories of several fireballs can be manipulated at the same time with chakra. Qin Shi has the Sharingan, which provides super dynamic vision. One by one, the impatience fire hit the ice peas accurately. It's like throwing ice cubes into a fire. The ice peas melted instantly. Before the ice shooter could spit out the next ice pea. The rest of the impatience fire had already been controlled by Qin Shi, lighting the roots of the ice shooter. Fire overcomes ice, fire overcomes wood. After a while, the roots of the ice shooter were burned off. Almost at the same time. A full 10 ice shooters were annihilated at the same time in just a few seconds. The clone disappeared, and the combat experience and memory were also transmitted to Qin Shi's mind. In the future, you can learn some formations, which may have miraculous effects when combined with the shadow clone technique. Quote. Qin Shi summarized this battle. Ding dong, lucky player, you killed 10 ice shooters. Obtained 2 ice shooter cards. He. Please keep up the good work and try your best to survive. The game prompt of paradise sounded again. 2 blue cards appeared on the ground. Qin Shi picked up the card. There was a blue trumpet pea on the card. Ice shooter, a variant of pea shooter, which can shoot peas with freezing effect. How to use. Tear open the card, and the plant will appear. Please note that once the plant is placed, it cannot be moved. The summoned plant is actually an immovable plant. Isn't this a strategy tower defense game? Qin Shi put the card into the system space. It really looks more and more like a game of Plants vs. Zombies. Sweep the mutant plants around. The secret realm mission of the system has also been completed to 8/30. Keep moving forward. Not long after, Qin Shi came to a flower garden. Although it is full of spring colors, the types of flowers are relatively single. The whole flower garden is planted with sunflowers. The weird thing is that every sunflower has a smiling face. The light gathered on the smiling face of the sunflower, and even the thick fog could not block the light. The visibility suddenly increased by several levels. Oh, I found the first plant in the game Plants vs. Zombies, the sunflower. Qin Shi looked at the sunflowers in the garden. In the game, sunflowers are the energy source for summoning plants. Only by collecting enough sunlight can other plants be summoned. But, Qin Shi looked at the card he had obtained. According to the card description, using this card does not require sunlight, nor does it consume my spiritual power. Just use it directly. Then, what is the role of these sunflowers in this paradise? Qin Shi was a little confused. Suddenly he heard the content of the previous game prompt. It is strongly recommended to accumulate cards for the coming of the night. Night, that is to say, this paradise is not just daytime. If there are glowing sunflowers in the night, then the business will be much better. It is still a bit difficult to fight at night with the Sharingan alone. Thinking of this, he picked up the shallow katana and ran into the flower bed. Killed Sunflower 1. Killed Sunflower 1. Unlike the pea shooter and big mouth flower he encountered before, sunflowers grow completely in a fixed place and do not move. They just have a silly smiley face. Qin Shi cut the plants in front, and the sunflowers behind are still a simple smiley face. I don't know how many sunflowers he cut, and there are 10 sunflower cards in his hand. Qin Shi's hand holding the shallow katana suddenly stopped. Even if the enemy did not resist at all, he did not careless, and the Sharingan remained open. Finally, he found that in front of him, there is a touch of spiritual power, mixed in the sunflowers, which looks particularly different. If you only look with the naked eye, the sunflowers are swaying. You can hardly notice other plants hidden in the flowers. Qin Shi concentrated his mind and looked at the plant. It was curved, red all over, and had an angry expression on his face. The reason why it is not easy to see with the naked eye is that the sunflowers are dense. More importantly, this plant is very small. It is as small as a pepper. Itm. Qin Shi couldn't help but swear. He turned around immediately and activated the instant body technique immediately. He exerted force on his feet and ran out of the flower bed. This red plant is the fiery pepper in the game Plants vs. Zombies, which consumes 125 sunlight. Boom! The fiery pepper exploded, and the fierce flames sprayed in front and behind it. A hot wall of fire appeared instantly in the flower bed. But that's not all. There were countless sunflowers planted in the whole flower bed, and they were very close to each other. The flame passed from one sunflower to another. In the smiling faces of countless sunflowers, black smoke rose. Cough, cough, cough. On the muddy ground outside the flower bed, a hand stretched out from the soil. Qin Shi climbed out of the mud with force. Earth escape, earth dragon hidden technique. At the moment when the hot pepper exploded, Qin Shi launched the earth escape ninjutsu in time. Hid in the mud to avoid the jet flames of the hot pepper. Too unreasonable. Qin Shi coughed a few times, and his face was also stained with a lot of black. The ashes of sunflowers were floating in the air. This kind of pepper buried in the soil actually exploded automatically the moment you noticed it. Typical Voldemort. Just when Qin Shi complained about the insidiousness of the pepper, the audience outside the venue was also paying attention to the students' performance. Eliminated students appeared at the entrance of the park one after another. The medical team members stepped forward quickly. The group of eliminated contestants with dementia-like faces were taken away and taken to the rest area for psychological treatment. 10 more students were eliminated, and their death was burning at the stake. The robot Dave was doing his job as a narrator. It stretched out a finger and shook it. So far, the terrain, Flower Garden, is the terrain with the most eliminated students. More than 80 students died in the flames of our old Six Peppers. The little chickens will understand a truth today. You think the free rice delivered to your door is actually a hunter's trap. The flames subsided. Qin Shi wiped his face and then noticed the burnt flower garden. He looked forward. After the plants in the park were killed, they would disappear completely. So after just a few minutes, all the sunflowers in the flower garden disappeared. Even the ashes that had just flown disappeared. But Qin Shi walked up quickly and picked up the card on the ground. Sunflower. A plant that can produce sunlight. Plant it on the ground and use it as a street lamp. Please note that some dark plants hate sunlight very much. Using them at night may lead to more violent attacks by dark creatures. How to use. Tear open the card and the plant will appear. Please note that once the plant is placed, it cannot be moved. Qin Shi looked at the card description. Dark creatures. Sure enough, once it enters the night, dark creatures will attack. The lighting card in the night. Although this card is not strong enough, it is an indispensable card. And Qin Shi raised his head. The flower bed that was full of sunflowers before has now become an empty space. But there are countless cards scattered on the empty space. Qin Shi picked them up one by one. This feels like a bomb exploded in a fish pond. Qin Shi picked up all the cards that fell on the ground. He even picked up 2 cards. The probability of plants turning into cards after death is 1 in 5, and I picked up 2 at once. Qin Shi's scalp suddenly went numb. This means that there are at least 10 hot peppers in this small flower garden. Fortunately, I can escape underground, otherwise it would be a real loss of life. After picking up the remaining cards, Qin Shi spitted his fingers and counted the cards like counting money. 53. The system task also sent a prompt, showing the task completion rate, 10/30. It's a great deal. He put all the cards into the system space. Although it's a very dangerous flower garden, once you can escape, the rewards are also very rich. Just this trip, the lighting cards I need tonight are basically complete. He was just happy when he suddenly heard a faint shouting in his ear. Is someone calling for help again? Qin Shi listened attentively. The voice is as gentle as an oriole, and the cry for help is sometimes high and sometimes low. It must be a girl. He rested his hand on his chin. But this cry for help doesn't seem to have any emotion, and I can't hear the fear in her words. It might be a trap. How about going to take a look? After making up his mind, Qin put on his cat-faced mask and walked in the direction of the sound. A few minutes later, he came to a river. In the middle of the river, a girl in a yellow school uniform was holding a broken log and struggling desperately in the water. Seeing a masked freshman coming over, the girl's eyes lit up. I'm a student in Class A9, please help me. My feet are entangled by the plants in the water. Qin looked around the girl. Many green vines were around the girl, and a few red eyes could be vaguely seen. This was a water-based mutant plant, entangled with water plants. Seeing the girl trapped, Qin stood on the shore. He had a thoughtful look in his eyes, and did not go into the water to save people. Seeing that the man on the shore was motionless, the girl became a little anxious. If you save me, I will give you the cards I have. In my pocket, there are powerful cards and 3, all for you. But Qin still stood on the shore, with no intention of going into the water. The girl's face changed, and after hesitating for a moment, she gritted her teeth. As long as you save me, I will agree to one of your requests, no matter how excessive it is. If you feel it is inconvenient in the forest, I can also satisfy you after you get out. Don't worry, I will never break my promise, as long as you save me out. I am afraid of water, and I really don't want to drown in the river. There are lotus leaves on the shore, people can stand on them, you just need to stand on the lotus leaves and paddle over, and I will be saved. As she said, the girl gave Qin a look. The look was charming, and the meaning conveyed could not be clearer. Qin was silent for a moment and smiled. Okay, I'll save you. Qin, wearing a cat-faced mask, walked toward the river. The river water was a little turbid, mixed with a lot of mud and sand. Lotus leaves were floating on the water near the shore. Water lilies, a plant prop in Plants vs. Zombies, can plant other terrestrial plants on the water. Heavyweight plants such as tall nuts, watermelon pitchers, and even corn cannons can also stand steadily on the water. Therefore, it is no problem for lotus leaves to carry 1 or 2 people. When he came to the river, Qin looked at the floating lotus leaf closest to him. Only this lotus leaf was within his 1-step distance. The other lotus leaves were floating a little far away and could not be reached at all. He raised his feet high. When he was about to step on the lotus leaf, Qin suddenly stopped. He looked at the girl in the middle of the river with a smile on his face. Girl, let me tell you something. With your little tricks, you're far from being able to trick me. As soon as he finished speaking, he quickly retracted his raised foot, and then exerted force on his foot. He spun into the air. Then he aimed at the lotus leaf and kicked it down. Sea-level physical technique, lion combo. Bang! With a series of smooth movements, the lotus leaf was smashed into the water with a strong force. But the lotus leaf did not sink to the bottom as expected, but it seemed to kick something. The lotus leaf suddenly opened. A figure rushed out from under the lotus leaf. He held 2 thin threads in his hand. One end of the thin thread shot onto the tree on the shore and pulled him up. The man was wearing a blue school uniform, with blonde hair and sunglasses. Under the lenses, the man's eyes were like an eagle. Qin knew him. The man in front of him was the one who had challenged the chef of Dashan on stage among the freshmen of this year. From a mafia family, the legacy is the Pirate King, S-rank Doflamingos Mingay. The blonde man wearing sunglasses wiped blood on the corner of his mouth. He was still slightly injured by Qin powerful physical skills. Tell me, how did you find me? The man fiddled with the silk thread in his hand, his tone fierce. Maybe I'm happy to leave you a whole body. Under the cat-faced mask, Qin mouth corners rose. You don't even know how you exposed yourself, and you still want to defeat me. A smoke bomb in his hand fell to the ground, and the thick smoke immediately covered his figure. After the smoke, 2 figures of Qin appeared in the same place. Ninjutsu, shadow clone technique. Oh, you can clone. What a coincidence, I'm also good at this. The silk thread in Mingji's hand flew quickly, interweaving in the air, like knitting a sweater. After a while, another Mingji appeared beside him. Thread fruit skill shadow riding thread. Hee, let's fight. The two Ming-Jie laughed sinisterly at the same time, and the shadowy silk thread appeared in their hands. Under the Sharingan, the almost transparent silk thread was particularly clear in Qin Shi's eyes. He looked at the 5 taut silk threads in Ming-Jie's hand and slowly pulled out his Zanpakudo, shallow strike. In the previous system reward, Qin Shi obtained the Kendo Ninjutsu, 3 Moon Dance. The mastery of this ninjutsu also improved his swordsmanship to a certain extent. Although it is still LV1, it is almost touching the threshold of LV2 and has the ability to fight. 5-color thread. 5-color thread, the basic skill of Doflamingo in the anime One Piece. Each of the 5 fingers creates a nearly transparent thin silk thread, and the 5 silk threads are grasped towards the opponent in the posture of animal claws. The silk thread as sharp as a piano wire will cut or even cut off the opponent's body. But this skill also has obvious disadvantages, that is, the attack distance is not long, and it must be at a close distance to exert its power. After the 5-color thread appeared on Ming-Jie, he immediately moved. In the anime, Doflamingo not only relies on the fruit power, but also has strong physical skills. Ming-Jie, as an S-class inheritor, has reached LV2 level in physical skills. The two Ming-Jie rushed towards the 2 Qin-Shi clones respectively, intending to defeat them one-on-one. The moment Ming-Jie took action, Qin-Shi also moved and rushed towards the other party. "Make clones with me. How dare you?" Qin-Shi smiled and kept his feet. What is the most important thing about the clone technique? It is to make it impossible to tell male from female. If the opponent cannot find his original body, then the clone technique loses its effect. Under Qin-Shi's Sharingan, all clone techniques are in vain. The moment Ming-Jie wasted his spiritual power to make a thread clone, Qin-Shi has already determined which clone is the original body. Then, it is the time to fight. How can I play one-on-one with you? The two Qin-Shi raised their long swords and slashed at Ming-Jie's original body. Ming-Jie raised the 5-colored thread in his hand to block, and a long knife was blocked. But the long knife in the hand of another Qin-Shi clone successfully stabbed the opponent at the moment he blocked. Puff! The long knife cut into the opponent's body, but no blood splashed. Qin-Shi frowned. This light touch was like a knife cutting on a ball of thread. He looked up. Ming-Jie, who was still the original body just now, has now turned into a ball of flying silk threads. He, masked boy, you really dare to underestimate me. A cold laugh came from behind. The two Qin-Shi turned their heads to look. The position where the silk thread clone stood before has been replaced by Ming-Jie's original body. My shadow riding line can not only create a clone that uses my ability, but also exchange positions with my original body in times of crisis. Ming-Jie's palm stretched back. Dozens of nearly transparent thin threads spurted out of his palm. These threads intertwined together to form a thick thread column like hair. Haha, kid, you lost. Thread fruit skill, super strike whip. Ming-Jie laughed wildly, pulling his hands back with all his strength, like swinging a heavy whip. The thick thread column swept forward violently. Boom. Countless trees around were cut off by the thread column, rumbling and falling to the ground. The two Qin-Shi not far from Ming-Jie were also cut in the waist by the thread column. Haha, win, I killed another ignorant brat. Ming-Jie shouted excitedly, but in a short moment, his pupils suddenly shrank. The two Qin-Shi, after being cut in the waist, also did not bleed. Instead, with a bang, they turned into 2 streams of smoke. Fake. Both are fake. Ming-Jie stared at the disappearing Qin-Shi's clone position. Suddenly, there was a sharp pain in his chest. He looked down and saw a silver blade stuck in his chest. Qin-Shi stood behind him, holding the knife with both hands, and pushed the knife forward another inch. Sorry, S-level classmate. General. Ah, wow. Ming-Jie spat out the blood in his mouth. He staggered forward, then leaned against a tree and sat down. How did you appear there? How could it be? Ming-Jie roared, looking at the other party in disbelief. From the beginning of the battle, the other party saw through his routine again and again. The cat-faced mask faced the other party coldly. Qin-Shi was speechless. He would not be stupid enough to show off his moves like the gangster brother in front of him. As for how to do it, he used the ghost way to make himself invisible, and then sneaked behind the other party, at the moment when the other party thought he succeeded. It was also the moment when the other party was most relaxed and careless. The long sword pierced the other party's chest steadily. This was the tactic that Chin-shi got after being inspired by the Kendo Ninjutsu, 3 Moon Dance, and then improved. Of course, there is a more critical reason. As a die-hard fan of One Piece, Chin-shi had long known that Shadow Knight Line could swap the main body and the clone. More information meant that Chin-shi was doomed to win this battle. The other party's silence made Ming-jae even more irritable, but the serious injury did not make him lose his mind. "Shui, hurry up and treat my injuries," he shouted loudly. The girl in the red school uniform in the middle of the river trembled. But, your injuries are so serious, if I want to treat them, I will die too. Please, no, don't let me do this." The woman's voice trembled, and the whole person seemed to be begging. "Don't worry, after I defeat this old cat, I will immediately use the power of the thread fruit to help you heal your wounds." Ming-jae stared at Chin-shi's cat-faced mask fiercely, his eyes full of hatred. He took his hand covering his chest away. The wound had been sewn up with silk thread, and the bleeding had completely stopped. But Ming-jae's face was pale. With such a serious and fatal injury, he could only stop the bleeding temporarily. If he continued to delay, he would still die. Not to mention that he had to deal with a strong enemy like Chin-shi. "Shui, if you don't help me heal, I will kill you now." Ming-jae's face was gloomy, and the index finger of his left hand moved. Chin-shi then noticed that a transparent silk thread connected from his fingertips to the neck of the woman in the middle of the river. There was almost no spiritual power flowing on that silk thread, which made Chin-shi unable to detect it at the first time. Don't kill me, I will heal." The girl's neck was strangled suddenly, blood dripped from her neck, and she struggled to shout to the other party. She raised her snow-white arms and chanted a spell. A ray of light fell on Ming-jae's body. "The wound is disappearing." Chin-shi stood in place, watching Ming-jae's chest disappearing. In the middle of the river, the girl began to vomit blood, and the horrible wound began to appear on her chest. Injury transfer. Chin-shi looked at the girl. There is actually such a legacy. It's really amazing. It seems that my knowledge of the second dimension is far from enough. He sighed. The girl's legacy comes from the heroine Sakurai Yuzuki in the anime, Inescapable Betrayal. She has the skill, God's light, to heal other people's injuries, but she needs to bear the same pain herself. As for why Chin-shi didn't know the girl's legacy, it's because Inescapable Betrayal is a girl's manga. Who among the Steel Straight men reads girls' manga? Do you read it? During Ming-jae's recovery, Chin-shi didn't do anything. There is no special reason. It's just that he needs a reference to the true strength of the top inheritors in this world. Just now, he relied on the information advantage of the Shadow Rider line to easily defeat the opponent. But this is not all of Ming-jae's strength. He wants to further contact with the opponent and test his current level. 10 seconds later, Ming-jae's injuries have healed. He patted the dust off his body. "You little brat, you didn't attack me when I was recovering, huh?" He suppressed the anger in his chest. "How dare you look down on me like this? I will make you regret it." In the middle of the river, the girl's blood had dyed the river red. "Ming, Master Ming, save me. Save me." The girl asked for help. She diverted Ming-jae's fatal injury. If she stayed in the water, the wound would worsen. Once it worsened, it would not last until Ming-jae won. The girl kept calling for help. Ming-jae's expression changed, it was an impatient expression. He turned his index finger. The silk thread wrapped around the girl's neck suddenly tightened. The sharp silk thread immediately cut the girl's throat. "Ming-jae. You." The girl looked at the other person in disbelief, with one hand tightly covering her neck. After a moment, her eyes lost their spirit. Then, her figure turned into dust and was teleported out of the forest. If you encounter death in the park, you will not really die, but you will be eliminated immediately and appear at the entrance of the park. Although you will not really die, the pain before death is extremely real. Students who are eliminated will remember it for a lifetime. The annoying flies are gone, and then we will continue to play. Ming-jae twisted her limbs, and her neck joints made a creaking sound. That girl is your companion, and you actually treat your companion like this. Chin-shi's cold voice came from the cat-faced mask. Not long after entering the game, Qin had figured out how to play this game. Dave's Paradise is a survival game. The longer you live, the higher your score will be. The best way to play the game is to form a team. One person's strength is limited, so 2 or 3 people will do it. Especially when facing dark creatures at night, it is better to fight as a team than to struggle alone. Forming a team is the best way for most freshmen to deal with this survival game. Originally, Qin also planned to form a team. But after the system's special task was released, he chose to be a lone ranger. It's nothing, if you have a teammate who always takes the initiative to kill various mutant plants. You will also think that this teammate is abnormal. So when he first came to the river and noticed Mingay under the lotus leaves and the girl in the middle of the river, he immediately understood that the two were planning to form a team to pit him. Partner, haha, Mingay sneered twice and said nonchalantly. Stop joking. How can she, a piece of trash from Osiris Red, be worthy of being my partner, Master Ming? In my eyes, she is just a medicine that can help me heal when I am injured. Now that the medicine is used up, the container can be thrown away naturally. He looked at Qin with a sinister smile. Why, do you feel sorry for her? Don't worry, I will kill you soon, and you will see her at the gate of elimination. As he said that, he suddenly slapped his head. Oh, look at my memory. I said I would make you live a life worse than death. I'm afraid you can't go to elimination for a while. You have to wait until I get tired of playing with you and this bad mood disappears before you can die. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.